Where'd it go? There it is. Hello. All right. That being that aside, I don't think I've ever really oh, minimized. Gosh dang it. All right. This is NaNoRenO. It's the obviously a play on NaNoRenO, National Novelist Writers month. It's a series of jams which have been going on since 2015. Wow, I did not know this has been going on since 2015. That's amazing. And it really is ostensibly the NaNoRenO equivalent for producing visual novels. And it's really cool because it's honestly, writing a novel is really hard. Making a visual novel is also really hard. Like you might think that all your writing imagery and whatnot is upset by having graphics and whatnot. No, it's not easier. It's just in many ways it's probably harder. Alas, this is the month of March. Final projects must be finished on or before April 1st. This is a jam that encourages newcomers too, so this is also one I've never gotten that deep into it, honestly, but it's one that I should have, because it's another one that encourages first-time developers here. Look at all these resources here. How to start making visual novels. The end of wiki. Hello, Redmond. Sorry for keep minimizing what I'm a fool. Fun sources of assets. Feedback. Pick an engine to use. How to use RenPy. To sign up, but it encourages you to communicate and network, as you only really having a network around you to like give you that push, give you that fire to go through and kick butt really helps, and that's the purpose of NaNoRenO. That's the purpose of NaNoRenO. Anyways, well, there should be a section explaining how to incorporate Schrodinger's cat. Oh no, Red. Oh no. And I've been having the Don't Mind Void Stranger there. I totally own it twice. There should be a section on how to incorporate Schrodinger's cat. But you don't know if you've incorporated Schrodinger's cat or not until you open it up. Should be asleep, but I'm too hungry. Watch the stream while you eat and consume food. That sounds like an excellent plan. In the meantime, we'll start off with some Platonic love, because it's at the top of my list. I think I have a mix of longer form and short form games. But alas, we're going to do a bit of short form and long form. Cat girl, hello. How have you been? I feel like it's been a while since I've seen you, but then again, I feel like it's been a while since I've done It's.io content exclusively, and jam content specifically. So it's completely understandable. So, Platonic love, a free romance, and the tagline. Look at the tagline right there. I've loved my friend. This is what I know. That is what I know. A lonely girl waits by a bus stop, contemplating the girl she loves and the pain of her platonic feelings. To her surprise, the lonely girl's crush shows up at the bus stop too, waiting for her ride home. What would usually be a normal conversation between two schoolgirls unfolds into a blooming unveiling of emotion, passion, and love. Some nice unity begins for this jam made for by the looks of it. You're sick. Oh no, I have been sick. Oh gosh. Hope you're hanging in there and taking care, and hope you get well soon. Hopefully it's a get well sickness. I won't pry, but still, hope you're doing well and hope you get well. The short style, the art style looks really cute. I can see the sketchbook inspiration there. And as I always do, oh, let me do that. I always do. I like to pry, see what your creator page looks like, and it's your first one. So awesome. Fantastic news. Oh, this is running quickly. Let me adjust my itch.io. Hello. And you got an otter logo. That is also cute. We love that. Ooh. And here we go. I'll put the music down a little bit, but the music's still nice. Holy, ooh. Let's see, is that a good music position for this here? Also, I adore this. I adore her design. That reminds me of a good friend's character here. So vibing with that very much. Very boopable logo, indeed. I love my friend. That is what I know. She used to hold my hand in the lunch queue. I told her what I wanted to eat, and she told the lunch lady. She said no pickles. I was reliant on other people like her before. But she was different to me, because when she helped me, I felt encouraged to be strong. Learning how to believe in the things you do is hard. But when she held my hand, she showed me how. Ooh, rain. Oh, that's a pretty background. I'm by myself at a bus stop. The river behind me, the world around me. Sounds like a pellet factory. I hear footsteps head toward me. They're footsteps I can recognize. In the same way families know who's walking up the stairs. Ooh. My friend is here. Oh. Oh, hey. Hey. I thought I was going to miss the bus for sure. So, how have you been? I'm fine. You always say that, though. Yeah, I guess. Skirt or insanely thin legs? Good question. Skirt, yes. Most of the time I don't know what to say. I think I have to safe bet that's skirt. She's on her phone now. Have you been up to anything? Not really. You say that all the time, too. Well, I don't do much outside of school. What about your snowboarding? Snowboarding? That's cool. Oh, do you still snowboard sometimes? Sometimes. Nice. She smiles. Oh god, she's just like me. Mood. Still your usual self, I see. She suddenly clicks her tongue. Like the little cutout. Yeah! Sprites have little cutout outlines and little highlighting, like outer glow on the text is a neat effect, too. OMG, you can't be serious. Taylor's dating Hannah Rickards. And Hannah Rickards. That's like his third girlfriend this year. Sheesh. Okay, so remember when, he was cheating on me with that girl from Middleton High? Yeah. He dumped me for that girl. They started dating in a week. And afterwards he started dating Stacy Gilder. You know, from science class. Yeah. And, she broke up with him too after a while. Suits that little weasel. Right? Fucking Taylor. But, Hannah's been trying to date him for ages, so... Hey, yeah? Why did you date Taylor? A palpable awkwardness. Uh-oh. And here we go. Oh, I don't know. He confessed to me first, and he was like, OMG, you have beautiful... Let me do a Taylor. OMG, you have beautiful eyes. It was more like because he's in the basketball club, so, I don't know. I thought he might have nice abs or girl. That's what a school of stubborn girls gets you, I guess. You do have beautiful eyes, though. Smooth. Oh, you don't have to flatter me. You've got pretty eyes, too. I try to smile it off. That is a cute smile, though. You know, that's gotten me kind of curious. Has anyone, like, asked you out before? Not really. Huh? Really? But you're so pretty, though. Probably because you, like, you don't talk to anyone, do you? Like, you kind of hang out at the library at lunch? I guess. Well, you should hang out with more people. And to do all kinds of crazy things. I don't know. I don't think I'm all that interesting. But you're friends with me, right? My tongue slipped while, like, walking on ice. The rain is still falling. I feel like time is slipping backwards. Oh God, I feel like I know that feeling all too well. You've been about to say something and just like brain to mouth function ceases. I feel like time is slipping backwards. Look, I don't know what's going on, but you know I won't judge you. You can ask for help if you need it. I'm there for you, okay? She said that to me once. I remember it. She held my hand. And can I ask you something? Yeah, sure. You can ask me anything. Oh. Do you know what it feels like? When you stumble into something so beautiful, but you can't speak the words to say it. Can't draw to see it. Can't whistle to hear it. So it sticks to the back of your mind. Like a box of memories in an attic. But it's too hard to open up. I feel like I want to scream about it. How much I love who I care for. I can't say anything anymore. Maybe I'm scared? Or it's because I know my memories sting. I can't do anything about it. I don't feel like I can do anything. But I want to share my love. I need to share my love. I just can't put it into words. The girl I love is looking into my tear-beaded eyes. I can hear my breath over the raindrops. I guess me and cats, they're too beautiful for me. But suddenly, we both hear the sound of a distant engine. Oh, there's my bus. She grabs what she can. And then, hey, before I go, text me when you get home, okay? Actually, I'll text you instead. Bus stops and the doors open. Just remember, she's half a foot inside the bus, but she's beckoned on board. She wanted to say one last thing. There isn't enough time. She has to leave me behind for now. But then, as I was expecting the bus to leave... Wait, what are you doing? Bus swindles back on the road, leaving the both of us together. Let's talk. Doesn't feel right doing this over a text message. Oh? I feel like we keep finding ourselves separated somehow. I always say that I'm here for you, but I'm not actually there for you, am I? Cassie? That's not true. My eyes, like the aperture of a lens, start to see. You've always been here for me, Cassie. My voice like thunder starts to shout. I just going to point out that I've know that feeling from Cassie's point of view too. That feeling like you say you're gonna be there for someone, but You feel like you aren't actually there when they need you, and it feels awkward. I want to go to the shelter. Red, please. Even if you're far away, or when you're busy. My voice, like thunder, starts to shout. Memories we share keep going. My heart, like a memory, starts to bloom. Memories make me feel beautiful. I want to make more memories with you, so I can be beautiful too. I want to be beautiful like you, Cassie. Please, show me how. Like petals on the wind. My feelings are free. Safe in Cassie's hands. Eleanor, is this a confession of love? Yeah, I love you. It's a calm silence between us. Rain feels nice. It's too awkward to go into the shelter now when there's something important to discuss, yeah. I feel like they might have been under the shelter, and then when this all happened, they stepped outside. There's a calm silence between us. That makes a lot of sense. We both laughed together. Wow. Eleanor, earlier, were you talking about me? I don't really know what to say. I don't want a response. I'd prefer to just do something with you. I want to go to an ice cream shop. Maybe see a romance film. Maybe we could see a fantasy film, too. Maybe just drink some coffee. Cassie smiles back at me. Oh, she's a little flustered. A little more flustered than usual. Then that's what we'll do. Aww. We start walking toward town. On the way to a coffee shop. I start talking about my day at school. Never thought I could be so open. So free. Something so simple and so ordinary could feel so special. I'm with her. Everything about me feels special. My love for Cassie will keep going. Softly as it began. I love my friend. Oh, thank you for playing. Thank you for playing my debut visual novel. Hope that Eleanor and Cassie's story has inspired you in the same way it inspired me. If you like this visual novel, please rate and comment below. For my work, please follow Itch and co-host. Ooh. Find more information down below by visiting my website. Look forward to seeing you again, Corinna. That was cute. Hello. That was pretty. That was adorable. If you find someone like that, God, it just. Someone who makes you feel that complete and that strong. That's a very valid love in its own right. I will boop the mascot, then we will leave them. We will leave Eleanor be. Nicely done, especially for their debut VN. Yeah! I love this art style. And the story was really, really heartfelt, poetic, and wholesome. So we're gonna drop a rate. We're gonna drop a rating. I'm gonna drop the link in chat, and I want, if you enjoyed this, drop them a rating as well. We're gonna drop our rating. God, honestly, it's coming from really. So art style is amazing. The sketchbook art style, I love that. Yeah, clean, realistic, and yet has that really, really clean, realistic, had that really heartfelt, almost flowery imagery. I don't want to call it that. Don't want to make that sound bad, but we'll drop that review in here. So give them a review, give them a like if you enjoyed Platonic love. Now, it's a very very interesting thing here. Yeah, serious kudos to the author. It's a really impressive first work here. So I work my way down here. We'll do another one of these short form, another first time, another interesting. This is the Knight of Thistledown. Sorry, not Thistletown, Thistledown. By Rosemask 22. Check your creators page. Oh, hello. Also in a few entries here. That was pastel. I saw this game when I was Are you a part of Yakutin? I noticed a few entries here, which were solo entries from who also contributed to Yakutin game projects. So you're part of Yakutin? I think so. I see the vulture. The Deity Machine series. Ironically, I have a few other of these downloaded. So, hello, Rose Mask. Oh, half of Yakutin. I think yeah. We're gonna see a few. We're gonna see a few of. We're gonna see more of them here because I just so happen to have downloaded a few entries from Yakutin games and their members. So, this is the Knight of Thistledown. You wake up to discover a man standing in front of you who introduces himself as the Knight of Thistledown. Who is this mysterious stranger, and why does the name Thistledown sound so familiar? Short being about taking chances and learning more about yourself. Almost pastel, but a bit brighter. Yeah. Alright. Ooh. Ooh, blood, murder, dismemberment. Okay. Very interesting. You have my attention. That is very loud. One moment. Okay. My three favorite things: blood, murder, dismemberment. And Columbo. Here we go. The Knight of Thistledown. Let's see here. Alright. On that note. Ooh, a little. Aw. Yay! Murder! Yes, kill time. Are you? Could it be? I found you at last. Who is that voice? Who has dared disturb your slumber? Oh. A handsome man stands before you. Hello, twin. He has a scar on one cheek, soft shoulder-length hair, and a trimmed beard and mustache. His clothing and the sword attached at his hip suggest he is a soldier or a well-equipped adventurer. Your Royal Highness, it is an honor to finally meet you. It has been so long. So many years have passed. My name is Frederick Forsyth Dansley. I'm a knight for the kingdom of Thistledown. I've been assigned with the task of locating and rescuing the missing heir and safely returning them back to the kingdom. I admit I am not the first knight who has been given this mission, but I assure you that I have completed many years of training. A knight? You try to think back to the last time you saw a knight. You cannot remember. Yet you know for certain that he did not look at you with such a soft expression. Well, I assume you are the Thistledown heir. I have not seen any others during my search of the castle, and I have it on good authority that the person I am looking for would be here. Not the handsome man. You notice his nervous expression. It's obvious that you are not what he expected to find. After a brief pause, you respond. There, we have 4 endings here, so ... Man's prattle has bored you immensely, and let out a yawn. Frederick is a confident man, or a foolish one, to approach you. He begins to fidget with his mustache. Perhaps I have been mistaken. You clear your throat and take a deep breath, ready to speak. You do not. You watch as he slowly lifts his left foot and places it behind him. Frederick is trying to distance himself from you. You wonder if you should let him go or not. ... Or get out. Get out. You raise your hand and point behind Frederick. He takes the hint, turns and bolts down the corridor out of your view. Knight of Thistledown. Faint memory comes to the surface of your mind, but slips away a moment later. Ah well, it cannot have been important. You've had far too much excitement for one day, so you lean down and ease your body into a comfortable position. As you close your eyes and begin to drift off, you wish that nobody will disturb you. At least not for a year or 2. Oh, peace and quiet. Alright, we have been disturbed. I don't think it'll change anything, but... ... Oh! You no longer see a man before you. You see a meal. His posture stiffens, noticing a change in your demeanor. Reaches for his sword, but you are faster. Stronger. Built different. You widen your jaw and your teeth plunge into his torso. The metal that protects his body is no match for the power of your bite. Oh! The spark of fear in his eyes slowly dims and his once beautiful eyes turn glassy. Consume and you consume until nothing remains. You lick your lips, ensuring that no drop is wasted. That explains the content warnings. You remember now. You know why the name Thistledown. It was so familiar. You remember seeing other knights from the kingdom of Thistledown in this castle. There are many who found you here, but they did not look at you as kindly as Frederick did. Nor did they taste as sweet as Frederick did. Your hunger has been sated, yet tiredness beckons. You close your eyes and drift off once more. I can't believe the heir of Thistledown is a dragon. Are you? Could it be? Who is that voice? Who has dared disturb your slumber? A man stands before you, raises his sword toward your face. A monster! A meal stands before you. You widen your jaws and your teeth plunge into his torso. Consume and consume until nothing remains. He tasted bitter. You wonder if everything will taste bitter now. Good enough to eat? Well, we wasted our shot by making a meal out of the good man. So you're a Knight of Thistledown. The name Thistledown does sound familiar to you, but you do not know why. Memory feels foggy after waking up so suddenly. I should have guessed that might be a problem. You tilt your head, unsure of what he is talking about. I'm sorry. I'm afraid I cannot understand you, Your Highness. Can you understand me? You cough and try and project your voice. No, that is relief. I would feel embarrassed if I was just stood here talking to myself. I'm a fan of theatrical monologues, so talking to myself does come naturally. Why is the world so cruel? Am I destined to be left? Lost? Forgotten? Here in this house of torment, I make my bed. Performance stops almost as quickly as it starts. Anyway, this puts me in a strange predicament. My mission is to locate, rescue, and return the missing heir, but I have no way of confirming that it is in fact you. Looks deep into your eyes, searching for a sign that you are the person he's looking for. After a moment, he breaks eye contact with you and takes in a deep breath. Well, first things first. Are you hungry? Yes, chomp. Ooh. You watch in surprise as the man reaches into his trouser pocket and brings out a small selection of fruits wrapped in a napkin. The sight of food causes your stomach to growl. When was the last time you ate something? This is all I have left, unfortunately. I understand if they are not to your taste. I left the majority of my supplies at the local inn. It's actually quite a lovely place. I would thoroughly recommend it. I have a quiet and spacious room with a superbly soft bed and a toasty open fire. Oh, how could I forget to mention the breakfast? It is simply to die for. How do they get the bacon so crispy? Take the fruit. You look back toward the goods offered to you and curiously take them. With a large gulp, you swallow them whole. I did little to sate your hunger. You thoroughly enjoyed the sweetness on your tongue. Oh, it looks like you like them. I'm glad. Perhaps later I can nip back to the tavern and get some more. Oh, come to think of it, the castle must have a large garden. I'm sure I'll be able to find some more sweet treats here. Oh, I bet they will have some tasty vegetables as well. Perhaps I can make a stew. Collect some tomatoes, peppers, and onions. It's too early in the season for onions. Maybe I could use spring onions instead. You stare somewhat stunned as the man scratches his beard and blissfully thinks of cooking recipes. Strawberries are always a good choice. And this guy here is, all this time he has not appeared scared of you in the slightest. You do not understand at all. Knights are sworn by duty. Their role is to protect the weak and vulnerable. They vanquish monsters to bring peace and honor to their kingdoms. Why is this man acting like this? Does he truly have no doubt you are the missing heir? Or is this just his nature? Could all this be a trick? Is he trying to get you to let your guard down before he... Are you feeling alright, your highness? A look of panic washes over his face. Could it be? Are you allergic to strawberries? You cannot help yourself. You lean back and let out a thunderous laugh that echoes throughout the corridor. Oh, wait. Was that a laugh? Not at all. Shake your head from side to side. Frederick glances at you questioningly, and you spot a glint in his eye. He then lightly chuckles. I think you are perhaps teasing me. I shall practice some jokes in the hope that you may laugh again and admit it next time. The laughter is, unfortunately, short-lived. Frederick closes his eyes and takes in a deep breath. You get a sense he is having difficulty choosing his next words. Now, all the food is gone, I should probably give you a full explanation about why I am here. As I said earlier, the heir to the kingdom of Thistledown has been missing for a number of years. The detail about what specifically happened to them was never officially given to the public. However, that does not stop people from creating their own crazy theories. There were rumors that magic was involved to get them out of the way. After all, the next in line to the throne is always a target. An ache pierces your chest. You can relate to such a feeling of being singled out. I heard many stories about the heir having been transported to another realm, turned to ash and thrown into the sea, or even transformed into something else. What do you mean? The kingdom has never quite recovered since then. There are constant discussions in the palace over who will be the next successor if the heir never returns. As you can imagine, every family member and government official believes that they would be the best fit. Yet the search for the missing heir continues, even after so many years. And there is still hope. In Thistledown, every family is expected to have at least one member in the royal army. Knighthoods are given freely in order to encourage more people to sign up. Do you think that Thistledown must have had a great number of knights? Why are you a knight? You gestured to Frederick. Oh, you want to know why I joined the army? Well, the truth is I actually wanted to be an actor, except it was not to be. Becoming a knight meant my purse was much heavier. It also meant I had to spend years in training. Training in the rain, training in the snow, training in the boiling sun, all sorts of weather. My adventurous side leaves a lot to be desired. I am not a fan of the great outdoors. It explains his excitement over his stay at the inn. I was not exactly one of the most popular knights back in Thistledown, so I rarely got picked for anything of importance. It was a shock when they asked me to find the missing heir. Later found out that they had lost all contact with the knight who was currently on the mission. I was a replacement. I suppose you could call me the understudy. Huh. It is strange, though. When the head guard briefed me, he told me to search this area, and that is why I'm here. How have they not found you yet? To be or not to be? Questions swirl around your head as you process Frederick's words. Pain begins to form in the back of your skull. Frederick is not the first Knight of Thistledown you have met. You have met many of them here, and you made sure they never left. Still, the choice is yours, Your Highness. Technically, I cannot confirm if you are who I am looking for or not. I can leave right now, return to Thistledown, and that would be the end. Or if you wanted some company, I could stay here with you. Or we could travel together. We mightn't look quite, conspicuous. If we can locate the village of Monkshud, then I'm sure my friend Henry will help us. He is the most powerful wizard I know. Forget the mission, forget all of it. I want to help you. Sweetheart! You try and process all Frederick has said. If he stays with you, will you hurt him like the others? Will another Knight of Thistledown come to take his place? Will you end them as well? No. Frederick took a risk and spoke to you kindly, but he knew you were capable of harming him. He took a risk to trust you. You feel you should do the same. This is a really good job of, presenting that, unknown factor, that threat, until Frederick up and revealed it. Or until we went down the alternate path and ate him. You are not sure who you are anymore. Nevertheless, you know that you are not a monster. Determination wakes your weary bones. This will be a fresh start, no matter what you choose. So, what do you want to do? Let's stay. Sometime later. It's a shame that you could not get into the library. Architecture and decoration is simply breathtaking. I'm sure the curtains are from the Isle of Leora. They produce some of the most expensive dyes you know. The color was so unique. I do not think I've ever seen anything like it before. Apologies, I got carried away again. Anyway, I was searching the bookshelves, and then I spotted this little beauty. When I got my hands on it, I knew it was special. He gestured to the book in his hands, which is decorated with a great number of colorful jewels and has a neat gold trim across the spine. He bends down and sits next to you with the open book on his lap so you can see. There we are, yeah. Oh, that's all. The most wholesome, giant, threatening dragon CG we could possibly see. Reading through some of the pages, it appears that this is a wizard's spellbook. I do not have an aptitude for magic, however. I think there's one spell in here that even I can do. He looks excited as he points to the title on the top of the page. It is a communication spell. If I can successfully cast it on myself, I should be able to understand you every single word. All you do is hold the book and recite this phrase 3 times. You nod to him, to give him your encouragement. After a long breath, he starts to recite the spell. Emily Epaulet Horse. Emily Epaulet Horse. Emily Epaulet Horse. Hello, Frederick. Oh, I can hear you. You said my name. I wonder if that means I am fluent in Dragonish now. It's been hours and hours in a lively conversation until your throat goes sore. You tell him all you know about yourself, even the memories of what happened to the other Knights of Thistledown. He's quiet for a while, and you worry that he has come to test you. I'm not a horse, you are now, Red. Then he looks in your eyes and gives you a sympathetic smile. He says he understands, and that he does not blame you. Frederick tells you even more stories about his life in Thistledown, and the more he speaks of it, the more it seems to come alive in your memory. The cobbled streets, the church on top of the hill, with the white steeple, the surrounding forests with the gigantic oak trees, feel so far removed from the abandoned castle you are living in. Did you have a life in Thistledown before you ended up here? What was that life like? All the talking, thinking, has tired you out completely, and you decide to rest. One thought floats into your head before you drift off to sleep. You do not know what the future holds. But for now you are happy spending your days in the company of a friend. Home is where the heart is. Aww. of a friend. Oh, wrong save. Let's leave. Sometime later. Whoa, adventurous. Think if we continue to travel north, we should arrive in Monkshoot in the next 3 days. It's lucky that Henry lives in the middle of nowhere. I'm not sure how the townspeople would react to seeing a dragon suddenly showing up. No offense, Your Highness. You've been traveling with Frederick for over 2 weeks, and it is a miracle you have not been seen yet. Frederick is leading you to the house of his wizard friend Henry, who he believes might be able to help. If there's any trace of magic on you, then Henry will find it. That is what Frederick said. You question whether Henry will be able to do anything of consequence, though your faith in Frederick keeps moving forward. I must admit I am looking forward to sleeping in a nice warm bed again. I have missed having a pillow so much. In comparison to Frederick, you have enjoyed your time outdoors. The fresh morning air, the feel of the grass underneath your feet, the stars lighting up the sky at night. It's been so long since you have experienced these things. You are not sure what will await you in 3 days, but you feel determined to face it head-on. No matter what truths get discovered. Fresh start. Ah. So we never really know for sure, but it's a safe bet that ultimately it really is a safe bet that we let's see. But yeah, that was what a lovely character Frederick is. And honestly, oops. Honestly, Frederick being an utter sweetheart is the heart and soul of this. Again, the whole black and white art style here is really I love it. I'm a sucker for it. And the dungeon background being the primary background. The dungeon background gives very oppressive vibes, and yet Frederick seems to like almost pop against it, stand out from it. Ray of sunshine in this dark dungeon. Protect him at all costs, yes! In fact, lead with this. Absolute sunshine. Precious bean, lovely lad. Like the mystery of a knight pulling up and saying, "Are you the heir to Thistledown?" Certainly makes a lot more sense when we realize that we can't actually respond to him, and that we are not a normal human being that he's looking at, and that, in fact, we are a big, dangerous dragon. He's very hungry. Let's see here. Really full of heart. hope that makes sense. Very heartfelt. We will follow. And I will drop the link in chat for you if you enjoyed this. Drop it on them. Heck, even give it a download. Try it on your own. Even give it a rating. Give it a comment. Enjoy it here. It's really charming. Let's see. What do I want to do next? I think we're gonna, let's see here. We've been going for a decent amount of time. Let's see. Yes, I got dead mom hair. I do want to try that if it's not too long. How long is this? An hour. Do I want to do dead mom hair? I'm just trying to measure what I can get done in one stream tonight. I am going to play Monochrome Pixels. That might be a stream of its own. That might be a Thursday thing. Oh, we can do. Let's see. Let's do Inside the Box next. I think this is the other half of Yakutin games. Yes. I do very much want to check out. Let's see. You have entered the Never Place. The Crooked Man. Hello. One in the Folklore series. I don't think I've played any of these. Ooh. Great Irish Sea Serp. Oh boy. But alas, I may not understand the core of this, but is it time for Schrodinger's cat? Perhaps. We are in fact going inside the box. You have entered the Never Place. You're lost to the world that you once knew. Answer all questions, but ask none. No, you don't have to do this. You can escape. But what if I want to? You play as the Crooked Man's apprentice, waking in a dark realm you don't recognize. Meet a mysterious creature that sits waiting patiently for you to open a box. Ooh, let's open the box. What is inside? It's a mystery. It could be a precious commodity, or it could be a trap. It doesn't know, and neither do you. Now, I'm a sucker for if I'm a sucker for anything in my visual novels, it's mysterious, ominously named dudes who are in charge of mysterious realms. Very guide core from the Purgatory verse. I am a sucker for mysterious, ominously named dudes. Is the Crooked Man going to be evil? I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so it's set in the world of folklore, so it may not be completely equivalent. But ooh, the Crooked Man and the creature have voices. Let me voice volume up. Is that a good moment back up a little bit? Leave that there. All right. Cool. Oh, where are you going? Come back. I wanted to read the text. I said the witch. His death made me realize. I said the snake. My dear kings. The imp. I was well. Come back. How'd move? Yeah. Come back. I want to read you. Ooh. Emblem to the left is glowing now. I feel like it's different. Oh, did he smile? No, he was always smiling. Yeah, oh, wow. Yeah. Title screen sprite changes. That's neat. I like your eye. Yeah, that smug grin as we go into darkness. just gonna admire that for a second. Alright.
Reveal your name.
No. Okay, fine.
You have entered the Nether Place. You are lost to the world that you once knew. Obey the rules put before you. Answer all questions, but ask none.
No, you do not have to do this. You can escape. 1, don't trust it. 2, don't share personal information. 3, don't lie. 4, don't trivialize the situation.
It's gonna be a difficult rule set to balance, but streamer mode. You narrator? I'm actually not going to. Because
You are in darkness. You can't recall how you got here. All your memories blur. Even your identity, your life before this moment, has become vague. Your head pounds as the heavy air makes it difficult to breathe. You feel cold.
don't show personal information, don't lie. Yeah, that seems contradictory a little bit. I suppose you could be vague, be ominous, answer with half-truths. Making's pretty decent. It's definitely gone for an ethereal, otherworldly vibe.
You could call this place a
Yeah.
void. Save
You're
for
my
the
best
imposing
friend!
man
What?
sat
You're my-
before you. One eye blackened, the other icy blue. He has dark grey hair that is coiffed in a style you think is impossible, and he wears a suit that you recognize.
Manji with the 25 months. Goodness gracious, Manji. How's it going? I definitely have the narrator going here because a little voice break of my own is nice. Gives us a chance to show off the narrator's voice acting. And,
He is a high-ranking servant from the great mythic castle, a place where only magical creatures can dwell.
the Great Mythic Castle.
Mythics are creatures of folklore with humanoid form, though many of them do not know human ways. They only pretend. Some are benevolent, others are tricksters, and a rare few are unspeakably evil.
Mythics are creatures of folklore with mimicking human ways. Meaning, well, tricking people or being outright evil. How goes the beginning? It's going good so far. We're on our third for tonight. We've had some wholesome fun so far.
You do not know which type of mythic this creature is, nor his moral alignment. He is devoid of character, soulless even.
I do not intend to make you feel uncomfortable. I'm learning how people work. I request patience.
Granted.
He says the word people as though it is alien to him.
This is a special box. There is something very precious inside.
You
Ooh.
regard the intricate box the creature sits behind. It appears innocuous, yet you feel uneasy. He breaks the silence with an unexpected comment.
A real nature documentary feel to the narrator's voice and intonations. You're not wrong. It is nice, though.
It may also contain a trap.
Fun.
You visibly wince. He continues, impassively.
I like it.
I have not seen the inside of the box myself. It was given to me for this test. I have heard humans and witches are curious by nature. Perhaps you would care to demonstrate?
You are caught off guard. Your hesitance becomes palpable. He smiles.
Here we see the creature stalking its prey, the unsuspecting streamer.
Do not be afraid. I do not intend to hurt you.
Do not intend to hurt me, but...
Despite his words, you feel very afraid.
I am concerned.
The creature continues.
Your expression is unsettled. I guarantee there is something special inside. But do you believe there's a trap?
Be very afraid. Do I believe there's a trap? Give box.
With the sound of a metallic snap resonating in the darkness, you are overcome with pain.
Oops. Too greedy.
You feel detached from the thing that is inside the trap.
You are in fact literally detached from it.
You're someone who learns lessons the painful way. I will remember that.
Box is full of lies and pain. And now I'm even more scared. Look at that grin.
And with that, the creature disappeared.
I feel like I have failed the test.
The box is open. The darkness swirls around you so intensely that you feel it swallow you up.
Red, please.
The creature leaves you in the dark, without a hint of concern. You cannot move. You cannot do anything. No one will come for you. You will drift.
There he is. So, we've made the obvious bad decision here.
Your
Prompt here is
unsettled. I guarantee there is something special inside. But do you believe there's a trap?
Now, do I believe there's a trap? Yes, I do.
Even without proof, you believe what I have told you. You're very trusting, but your life must be full of fear. For there are shadows in every corner of the world if you heed only the words of others.
There's wisdom in that.
Regardless, let us continue.
You sound so done with me and my anxiety.
You feel a moment of relief, but it is short-lived. The knot in your stomach tightens as the creature speaks again.
If you become curious, do not resist the urge. I will leave the box here. You may open it whenever you like.
Oh, are you bailing on me?
He pauses, as if he did not anticipate that you might refuse. Yet he recovers and continues.
Did you like the paradox? I hear that humans and witches enjoy puzzles. I suppose it is another way for curiosity to manifest itself. Can you hear me? If you can, you have to escape. I'm on your side. I want to help you.
Hello?
You have gone quiet. Did you like the paradox?
Please rate my paradox on a scale of 1 to 5. We can still reach for the box. Give box! Okay, no. Yes, I did.
I am glad.
I will give you a smiley face.
Whilst the creature's true intentions are unclear, anxiety gnaws at you. His indifference, feigned or otherwise, is unsettling.
I wanted to know, where are you from? What is it like?
Don't give personal information.
You don't remember any specifics, no address, no postcode to speak of, but you remember a house, a town, a country. There would be little value in telling him this alone, so perhaps, again, this is about trust. Do you want to surrender what you know?
Hmm. What's the matter? Where are we?
Do not ask questions.
Oh, we asked
of me.
questions.
I
That's one of the
dislike
rules.
Questions.
We said they opened the box with just a button that was always off to the side. I imagine that's difficult to program in, especially on limited time. Honestly. Okay, thank you, Reddit.
The man's expression darkens. You can
Ooh.
tell that what you've said has angered him.
We have
Another
disobeyed.
question. Do you know the Crooked Man?
The Crooked Man?
You sense that the creature is beginning to find you irksome. Then you recall something, a memory. The Crooked Man is your mentor. You are relieved to hear his name, but revealing that information to the creature feels dangerous. It smiles. It knows you know something.
So you're not the Crooked Man. Yeepers.
Is this what creatures like you call a catch-22?
Apprehension is creeping up on you. Unexpected words leave your lips.
I know of him.
I am learning a lot from you.
But you know he is not. Your deception has not gone unnoticed. You're worried this conversation will escalate if you remain here much longer.
Sir, how do you know that how do you know what a catch-22 is, sir?
Do you remember how you came to be here?
I went to itch.io slash ...
You do not. You think he knows that too. A small smile passes over his lips.
It seems you have no answer. It is a little disconcerting, no?
Oh, eyes wide, knees weak, arm of spaghetti.
You feel stiff, as if you can barely move.
Give me the look.
Everything that you were is slipping away.
He is right. Your heart skips a beat. Your surroundings become even more foreboding and bleak. You strain to think of the past, as if all you have ever known is darkness.
I understand you may find this distressing, but for some creatures, it is the best they can hope for.
Some creatures?
To discard what they were, to become something different.
Become something different? I never asked for this. A bad feeling about this, too.
It provides them with a sense of relief. Don't listen to it. I had no choice. I was pulled into this.
Oh?
You want to run away. You wonder if you could stand up.
Where would you go? There is nowhere to run. The darkness is unending. It spans a distance immeasurable. There is only one option.
Genuflect.
To discover what is inside the box.
What will you do?
I put my hand in the box. Yeah. Talk.
You will continue to deny your curiosity. That is indeed an unexpected turn of events.
The atmosphere is a little lighter, as if something is trying to break through.
Oh.
The box is a trap. I opened it once, then I ended up here. He isn't me.
Oh. So the creature took your form?
That small voice has been trying in vain to aid you, but it is disembodied and powerless. Surely it is not the one who eased the atmosphere.
We can sit and speak. for as long as is necessary. What other questions should I ask aside from those I already have?
You sense a chilling lack of humanity as the creature adds,
The generation of spontaneous conversation is perplexing. But no matter. I will endeavor until you lose your appetite for it.
As your fear peaks, you hear a familiar voice call out.
Spontaneous conversation. It's a weird thing to pinpoint.
Can you hear me?
Oh, hello.
You are both taken aback.
He's found you.
Follow my voice and I'll guide you out.
Unexpected. I did not think he would have the courage to speak to the shadows again. He must value your presence immensely.
You detect a hint of desperation, as if something has taken hold of the creature.
Don't hesitate. You have to go. Now.
I like the mixing on the obviously disembodied voice.
He
That's
is
cool.
a trickster. This crooked man that you place your trust in.
The generation of spontaneous conversation is perplexing. Ah yes, an introvert. He's just like me. For real, for real.
You don't want to believe that is true, but a small part of you recalls a burning question you asked yourself long ago.
Crooked man, trickster.
What is the crooked man?
What is he to you?
Finally, I can relate. So, oh. Oh. Not sure.
Then he is unchanged since his first visit to this place. Few people know what the crooked man's true feelings are.
This guy's like the G-Man of yours.
You do not know his nature any more than you know mine. The price he paid to leave is taking its toll on him.
Oh, so
You have surely noticed the teeth he has.
You put your fingers against your mouth. Your teeth feel as they normally do, but will you have to pay a price to leave?
So we have the crooked man who came here, paid a price to leave. We have the original owner of this body, who opened the box and is now had his body snatched. Is that why we felt like we were floating in the void after we opened the box and got that lost ending? Because this fellow body snatched us? Inside the box is you get the old soul suck.
Can you still hear me? I'm going to conjure spell. Hold on a little longer.
It is not too late. You can still help me. Do not deny me my right to see your world. I have wanted this for so long. Help me.
I love how we can always just snap.
With the sound of a metallic, you feel detached.
You're someone who learns lessons the painful way. I will remember that.
You. So, time to make a deal. Spin the wheel, make the deal. Yes.
I will reward you for this loyalty. But you must wait until the appointed time. You must become at one with this place. You must become a part of it.
If I learn anything, I just have to eat something that comes from here, and then
Then
I will.
I will know
Then
that you are ready.
Then I will become fully void.
Outside of the Neverplace, people whisper of your recent, unusual behavior, hollow and indifferent. They do not know that you are a spectator in your own body. The creature has taken over you. He is not convincing, but people start to accept the new you for who you are, though they have commented on your rather crooked teeth.
Oh.
They do not know his plan, and neither do you. You are condemned to the Never Place. But perhaps you are starting to like it. You hope that someone will come to meet you, and that you will be able to show them what is inside the box.
Ah, impersonation. Curious. So the crooked man left. Placing the timeline here. Follow the voice.
I see.
Oh.
A spellwork portal appears behind the creature and his strange box. It must be from the crooked man. A way home. You feel strength in your legs. You stumble out of the chair and clamber towards the portal. The creature does not follow. It seems he cannot, but it smiles.
Give my best to John, won't you?
Oh? Crooked man?
Finally, you open your eyes to a place that you recognize. The Crooked Man's sweet shop. The chaos of unorganized shelves and sugary
good night, Red.
treats ready to be sold is a comfort after the bleak darkness.
Take some sweets for the road.
The Crooked Man
Oh.
is staring right at you, troubled by what has happened. He jokes to disguise his relief that you are safe.
He's also got a gold eye.
Better late than never, I suppose.
You're relieved, but you have questions. Your memories of that place are already fading. You can't afford to hesitate. The thought burning in your mind is...
So glad to see you. How'd you find me?
I used a magic I rarely tap into. Let's just leave it at that.
You don't find that answer satisfactory, but his tone suggests he's upset with you.
Crooked teeth as in sharp. That makes sense.
Well, so much for being my apprentice.
Oh?
Your throat feels tight. Why does he sound so serious?
You're out of harm's way, but that entity will target you again if you remain here. If only you hadn't been so curious and found that blasted box. Although I must applaud you as my apprentice for being able to find it.
Despite your misdemeanor, he jokes to mask his disappointment.
We will have to part ways. For now.
You had a box. It's dangerous.
A dark glint catches his eye.
Oh, I know. Your intelligence on the matter is not required. Once bitten, twice shy, and all that. So next time someone says hands off, just listen to them for goodness sake.
Aha.
The mention of this has angered him. You don't say any more.
Fair enough.
I have to release you from this apprenticeship. If I don't, it will never stop trying to find you.
You detect regret, but he clears his throat, hands you a bag of sweets, and pushes you out of the door.
Now get out.
With a note. Although the note isn't from him, words and pictures appear and reappear on the page.
Hiya! We're
Oh.
gutted you're leaving. The boss is angry, but don't worry too much. He still likes you. We can tell. Keep in touch by post, please. He
Oh.
seems to like the boring daily stuff you talk about.
Oh, they're cute.
He has always been a bit weird, even by wizard standards. But he's not a bad guy, just a few sandwiches short of a picnic. Besides, you know us. We'll look after him. We're his familiars. We kind of have to. Eat a sweet a day to keep pandemonium away. The boss said that. We've got no idea what it means. See you around, Jack and Jill. P.S. Order sweets from our online store and leave a 5-star review, or else.
I wonder if they are related. We'll have to...
You don't know what all of that means, but you know that Jack and Jill will at least try to look after the crooked man. And you will have to try and look after yourself.
Freedom! Ending 4. So we've what? We've gotten 1, 3, and 4. 3 for taking the deal. 4 for getting out. This horrible creature. I knew you would call you John.
He is taken aback. He looks to one side and mumbles to himself.
I've had previous in that place. I didn't choose to go, and it wasn't pleasant. I'll say no more on the matter.
It's the cost to escape.
You've never seen him so rattled.
Well, so much for being my...
Tell me more about that place.
What's to tell? The place is almost as grim as the local pound shop on a Saturday morning. I would not trap my worst enemy in either place, unless I really hated them. So for you to end up there... well, it is beyond unacceptable.
Behind the jokes, you can tell he's genuinely upset by what has happened. A situation you're beginning to realize you caused.
Too adventurous for my own good and all that.
I have to release you.
Alright. What else can we learn from this? What happened?
I don't know. Why did you decide to go and rummage through my things? I told you they were private. And dangerous.
For something forbidden knowledge?
Ah, you didn't expect that you'd cause your own mishap. That makes this encounter far more awkward.
Well, so much for being my apprentice.
Ah, you're really...
Where was that?
That was the Never place. As for how you got there, well, you know what they say. The devil makes work for idle hands.
You get the distinct feeling you may have brought this upon yourself.
Just a little bit.
Well, so...
I learned so much.
too much, apparently.
He isn't talking about the magic. You get the feeling he's talking about his past.
I can think of better summer holiday locations than the Never place. But I suppose the price of free was the differentiator between that and our normal family trip to Blackpool.
He adds dryly.
Calling my parents neglectful would be far too generous.
Did your parents ship you there?
I have to...
Huh.
to...
It's a curious bit of lore.
If it
Can we
were a
work this
case
out?
of doing that, I would have tried already. Don't misunderstand me. I don't want to lose you as my apprentice.
He reflects and finally adds glibly.
I should have never gotten so attached in the first place. I'm too nice, you see. Memo to self, be a horrible person in the future.
You feel guilty and more than a trifle annoyed with yourself.
Misplacing his kindness by, poking your nose where you didn't belong.
I have to release you from this.
Alright, skip ahead here. There's one more ending we're not having. Yes, no, touch box. We do here. My friend.
Would a friend allow you to end up in a place like this? Or perhaps your own curiosity is to blame? I suppose you will never know for certain. The crooked man rarely tells a whole truth. It is not in his nature.
There's a matter of... Yeah, there's a matter of sibling, because there is very distinctly... It could be siblings. Like, there's the creature, then there's the man who's not there. Then there's John, who got out.
You do not know his nature.
A dark...
Oh, I know.
See how far back we need to go. Change things here. Take it to a better life.
You seek your better life in strange ways. An affiliation with the Crooked Man is a gamble. You do.
I love him.
You have an aversion to things that frighten and unsettle you. I do not think you will live with the Crooked Man for long. You do not know. If it...
How far back must we go here? Honestly, I don't know enough about the box.
I do not know what is inside with any certainty. Must we sit here forever, willfully denying ourselves knowledge?
I won't open it.
How will you know the truth if you do not check? Perhaps you are the kind of person that views safety more important than truth. That is interesting to me.
Huh. Little diversion here. Who are you?
Do not ask. You
No, I don't like it.
didn't. Why not?
Please let me go.
You did not attempt to answer my question. You did not even attempt to half answer. That is not in keeping with the rules of this place. You must answer in a way that is to my liking next time.
Well, that's just mean.
Don't displease it again.
So the other ending too has to be
Whilst
getting
the
dunked
creature's
on.
true intentions are unclear.
Ask questions. What does it matter? Where are we?
Do not ask questions of me. I dislike questions.
The man's expression darkens. You can tell that what you've said has angered him.
Honestly, that's neat.
Another question.
Why are you asking me? Third strike?
What is this? Another question. I made it clear that questions are intolerable.
He will not forgive you this time. You have pushed him too far.
You will not speak again.
The box is
Oh.
open. The darkness swirls around you so intensely that you feel it swallow you. The creature you cannot. No one will come for
Ah.
you. You will drift.
Okay, so that baits us into ending 1.
What will you do?
There's a 4th ending here.
Your expression.
No, I don't believe this is.
Will you check inside?
I don't believe this is a trap.
Just to be.
I was genuinely confused that you would keep trapping. Keep
Will
checking it. No, I won't check it.
How will you know?
Alright, move on. Can you hear a voice?
Do not ask questions of me.
The man's expression darkens.
This is my home, actually.
I see. That was deceptive of you. I know it is a lie, and it is a lie that I dislike. Do not do that again. The creature is suspicious of you.
Interesting.
Be careful how you speak. Another question.
He can't help you escape.
Again, you speak such displeasing words, just as the Crooked Man once did.
The Crooked Man?
I thought he would come back, but he did not.
Then a dark smile presents on his face.
Well, has not. Yet. Perhaps I need to present him with an appropriate incentive. Let us see how much he really values you. I shall leave you here for now. You will be the bait for my trap.
Ooh, is this the other?
You are left alone with your lies. The darkness has rotted you to the core. You are more despicable than the creature that left you here.
Wow, narrator roasting me.
It has been so long since it left. So long since you sat down here. You sense that others will come. You will try and deceive them too, with your filthy lies. The box is yours now. You will bait others to fall into the trap, to try and free yourself, just as the creature has.
So when the open the box ending, you sort of end up like unwittingly trapped, and now we have to present the box to a new arrival to like we lost the test of curiosity, and now we have to present the box and the paradox to a new arrival to get them to open it so we can take their body and leave. In this instance, it really kind of is the same outcome. We just try to sass the creature. We get body snatched anyways, and we're just left behind to stew in our failed sass. Curious, but I like the tone of that ending. Oh, don't mind that. I totally wasn't looking at that. Find that last ending. Nope, nope, nope. But that was like that. So let's see. Follow. I will drop this in here for you. If anyone else here wants to give that a rate, drop this in here. Yes, of course you got that ending. Of course I got that ending on my own pro gamer skills. Honestly, I'm a pro mystery man. Totally didn't have to make sense once I knew that, but I might have honestly discovered it with a bit more poking around, but I kind of like, narratively, it isn't that much different from the open box ending, but it certainly feels a hell of a lot different. Hell of a lot more different. So, oh my god, what do I want to say here? I'm also a sucker of ominous men in charge of mysterious voids. So, give them a rating. This is a sequel to Do You Like Sweets? Do you like sweets? There's the Crooked Man. Oh. This was 0282 2023. So perhaps O2A2 2023 involves our mysterious main character. I'm going to install this. We might come back to this down the line. Very intriguing. Kind of experience the whole Crooked Man expanded universe. Honestly, the whole folklore vibe, really intriguing. Let's see, I want to see. It is. Probably go over another hour and a half. I have Galaxy Ballerina, which I know is fairly short. I'm also intrigued by. No, this is unrelated, but still intriguing. They look like stars. It looks cool. This gives me Higurashi vibes, which is delightful. This is described as a 1-minute story. And half a night. Thanks for the stream, Don. Thanks for coming out, Cat Girl. Have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. Good to see you again. And take care. Hope you feel better soon. So. I think we're going to play. We're going to do that. I'm going to browse. Submissions brief. They had a few I wanted to pick up. I do want to pick up this. Higurashi vibes. Want. We'll have to do we're gonna pick a. We are picking up a few more entries on stream. Ghost Yandere vibes. Do I have this installed? This looks intriguing. But alas, while we do that, what do you think? Do you try this? I think we tried this. We'll give They Look Like Stars by AmeKinoko. I don't think we've ever played anything by AmeKinoko. I see Ghostly Puzzle Game. That looks interesting. But we're gonna go for the that gives me Higurashi vibes. Maxwell Harrison's life has been spectacularly mundane ever since he graduated 2 years ago. I can't guarantee that we'll get through the whole thing in one night, but he's a bartender in the tiny vacation town of Hilltop, where nothing exciting ever happens. He spends his time off loitering around town, and sometimes even listening to his radio. It's calm. He tells himself he prefers it that way. Then a cave is discovered on the edge of town. People start disappearing. Max's life is about to become a lot less mundane, whether he likes it or not. So let's. Oh, hello. Oh, hello. There we go. They look like stars 1.0. It gives me interesting vibes here. No one has heard from them, by the way. Huh? The cavers, the guys who rented for me on Monday. Weren't you listening? The bar was as busy as it ever got on a Wednesday night. The room hummed with quiet conversation, broken by only the occasional thump of glass on wood. Jason was the only patron sitting at the bar, which meant that all my attention should have been on him. Instead, I discovered that my gaze had wandered to a point just over his left shoulder where a pale square on the bar's wall indicated that a photo had recently been taken down. I wondered what used to hang there. Hello, can I get some service here? Jason was grinning, but his words stung a little anyways. I grimaced at him and forced my hands to resume the motion of making his drink. Sorry, I said. Excuse me. Excuse me, Jason said, pantomiming a phone call. I like the logic of playing by one of your employees. Yup, it's Max again. Uh-huh. Staring off into space, not even catching a word of... I leaned over the bar and swatted at him. He dodged easily, chuckling. Asshole, I said. Whiskey sour, right? Yep. Yeah, this is definitely giving me Higurashi vibes in terms of presentation. Immediately. Good, because that's what you're getting. Placed the drink on the counter and slid it over to him. As I did, I glanced around at the rest of the room. No change. Wasn't needed anywhere else. Alright then, I said. Tell me about your vanished customers. Jason sipped his drink and made an appreciative face. Well, they're not all my customers, but sure. You heard about the cave they discovered, right? A bartender, I suppressed the urge to say. I hear every piece of gossip in this town, whether I want to or not. Loud, I said, I've heard a little, yeah. Duck Cave, right? Sounds cute. Like your favorite keychain. Jason rolled his eyes. Sure, adorable. It's not named after the animal, you know. I stopped imagining a sign with a painted yellow duck outside of a cave entrance. A duck refers to a spot where the ceiling of a cave almost meets the water's level. So duck cave just means it's wet in there. Ah, yes. Duck. Quack quack. Even worse. Somehow still popular. It's the danger of the cave dive, I suppose. You ever see some of those absurdly tight fits and absurdly tight spaces, absurdly dark, thin, narrow tunnels underwater? It's absurdly terrifying. I like my bit of adventure, but I utterly afraid. I'd be utterly afraid to set foot in some of those cave spaces. Jason snorted. I'll say. Since people found out about it, it's been a hotbed of activity. Surprised you haven't seen more cave tourists by now. Duck caves. Awoo! Da, 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 duck caves. Maybe they're busy going to the actual cave and not the bar? Jason took another sip of his drink, looking around, and nodded. Guess so. Anyways, it wasn't actually discovered recently. Some hardcore folks already knew about it. That's where the name came from. Location only went public about the last couple of weeks, though. Apparently, someone leaked it. Is the cave really hot enough discovery to leak? It's probably social media. Put generous quotation marks around the word. Someone shows off the location on social media, then everyone comes out untrained and tries to explore it. Jason shrugged. Sure, in some circles. Are you a part of those circles? Or wait, were you one of those hardcore few? Do you already know about the cave? And you're here complaining about my bar because you're bitter that it's popular now? Jason threw his balled up napkin at me. You don't own this place, and no, I didn't know about it, although I wish I had. There's so much about how many people have just up and died in locations like that. And the pictures of some of these narrow places that people actually go. He sipped his drink again. Being the sober half of any given conversation is a bartender's job, but still, I wished I had a drink of my own to hold. Imagining how it would feel to delve into some subterranean warren wasn't exactly my idea of light conversation. Even if I'd known Jason long enough to have had many similar discussions over the years. We're a vacation town, Jason pointed out. Ergo, make a great base for people to cave from. Amenities, nice places to stay, kitschy local bars. Rolled my eyes. Ergo? Hush. Anyway, what it all adds up to is that a bunch of inexperienced cavers are hounding me for advice. Top of the regular seasonal tourists, and they don't even have the sense to return their equipment on time. Like, they just kept it? More like they underestimated the amount of time they'd need in the cave. I'm not sending first-timers out there to wriggle through the more difficult pinches, obviously, but it's pretty common for beginners to miscalculate how long they need for an excursion. Until they come straggling back, I'm stuck telling people who actually reserve the gear that it's not available. The front door opened and closed. I eyed the new customer as if they might give off some kind of inexperienced caving aura. Instead, I recognized a grizzled man in a baseball cap who was definitely not a newcomer. I looked away. Got a friend who works search and rescue, and I really don't envy her right now, Jason continued, gesturing with a hand that held his drink. Odds are the next day or two her docket gets pretty full. I winced. Are you not worried about them? All these people going missing? Jason shook his head and downed the rest of his drink. I watched his throat work for a moment and then grabbed the next glass from above the counter to start another whiskey sour. Jason set his empty drink down and gave me a wink when he saw what I was doing. No, I'm not worried, he explained. They'll come out a little hungry and dinged up, but they'll be fine. Mostly just makes things a little harder for me. Whenever poor Sap has to rescue some of them. I interrupted him with the loud sound of the cocktail shaker. Once the outside was frosted to the touch, I pulled the strainer from beneath the counter and began to pour Jason's drink. Into the fresh silence, I shook my head. Can't imagine caving as a hobby. Christ, I can't even imagine walking into a cave and going, wow, this is cool. It just seems so dangerous. I'd be scared the whole time. I can imagine walking into a cave and going, wow, this is cool. Walking through some underground tunnels and going, wow, this is cool. When we start getting to the places where it's like, okay, dive in the cave water and swim through this little tunnel. That's too much for me. Or shimmy down one of these, like, narrow chimney-esque tunnels to continue exploring this cave. That's a bit much for me. Jason shrugged and watched him finish making his drink. Once he had his first sip, he added, it's all about being prepared. Doesn't have to be scary if you're not an idiot. Maybe I am an idiot. Or I would be. In a cave. He laughed. Common sense, Mac. That's all it takes. Might not be the sharpest knife in the drawer, but nothing bad's ever happened to me. Not as far as I know. Raised an eyebrow. Jason took one last look at my attempted interrogation and laughed again. Known me for long enough, nah. You'd have heard if I had a close call. Seriously, don't get worked up about it. Just hope they get back soon. Soon enough that I won't get in trouble with my boss. Discussion turned naturally to other topics like the weather and how busy the upcoming tourist season would be, but even after Jason finished his second drink, paid, and left, I was still thinking about the cave. Jason had confidence in the people that had rented gear from him. I didn't know them. I could only imagine myself in their place, utterly helpless, in my way through dark, claustrophobic tunnels. Raising my hands and shins on sharp rocks, my lantern guttering in the musty air, I shuddered. I spent the rest of my shift not feeling sorry for Jason as he'd requested, rather trying to chase the image of a dark, lonely cave from my mind. Wow, this is cool. Also, I'm probably going to die in a cave by getting trapped and getting stuck. I have to get out. I'm going to starve to death in this cave. It was dark when I left work. The warm spring air meant that a light jacket was enough to keep me comfortable. I stuck my hands deep in my pockets as I walked. The street lamps above me illuminated my path. I moved from pool to pool of golden light. More grateful than usual for that light tonight. I couldn't stop thinking about the cavers Jason had mentioned. They were still in the cave right now. They were undoubtedly cold, hungry, and uncomfortable. I shivered to think of the stone walls pressing in upon them as they tried to get some sleep. Maybe they would come to the bar when their ordeal was over. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to hear about their experience or not. But being a bartender, it Would probably have to. I suppose you get to that. You either dole it out and get by, or you just become naturally sensitive and empathetic when you're in this profession. Speaking of that, I should play Valhalla one of these days. I have it downloaded. At least I gotten to talk with Jason today. Before long, such conversations would be cut short by the growing number of tourists at the bar. Spring break in a vacation town is beautiful, but it also signaled the beginning of the tourist season. I could expect my nights to get a lot busier as the months rolled on into summer, especially if news of Duck Cave continued to spread. I sighed and kept walking, letting my thoughts drift away from the topic. There was no point in dwelling on the next few months. Yes, Valhalla. Coming soon. Definitely. I'd experience them soon enough. When I opened my front door, I was greeted by screams. Oh, horror movie. My heart rate only spiked for a moment before I realized that they were tinny, pre-recorded screams. Why did I think we were... For one brief, solitary second, I thought we were taking a hard left turn into straight outright horror. I sighed and closed the door behind me. Then I took my shoes off and stepped into the living room. I found my roommate, Reed, asleep on the couch in front of our tiny television. That's one of your comfort games? Oh! That's honestly really encouraging. Definitely gonna have to bump that up on my playlist. The sound of my footsteps, Reed cracked open a bleary eye. I waved. Hey, welcome home, they grunted. The TV screen, someone wailed for help. Lemieux? Oh. Is that an Ever 17 reference? Or is it just a Lemuria? Reed and I watched as they were cut down in a gory fashion by the killer, who looked like someone's uncle wearing a mask bought at a Halloween store. I don't get how you can sleep to this stuff, I said. Reed yawned. I was mostly only sleeping. They sat up and stretched, making room for me on the couch. I took the spot where their feet had just been and watched them crack their neck. The laptop sat on the coffee table before us, closed. I take it the job hunt is going well, then, I said. You had an interview recently, right? They scowled. Yeah, but... It's going the same way it's been going for the last 2 years. Well then, I repeated. Reed gave me a sarcastic smile. Yeah, that's why I rented my great aunt's bunch. Wait. I may need to focus on this here. I've never played Valhalla myself. I know plenty about it, but it's one of those games that I know a lot about, story and character-wise, but I've never played it myself. I was gifted it over Christmas by a very good friend of mine. It's now in my library and downloaded. I'm definitely gonna play it one of these days. I literally have it downloaded, so it'd be very easy to fire up one of these days. Anyway, Reed gave me a sarcastic smile. Yeah, that's why I'm renting my great aunt's brunch friend's vacation house with your sorry ass instead of living up in the big city. Because the job hunt has been a stunning success. I raised my hands in mock defense. Hey, sorry I asked. They sighed and ran a hand through their hair. You know I'm joking. It's just frustrating. I hear you there. College is supposed to prepare you for having a job, you know? Yeah. I thought back to our college days when we'd first started living together. I major in language arts and Reed's in engineering. Both of us bent over our assignments at our tiny dorm room desks. Oh, Reed? They majored in engineering. Kind of shocked that they aren't big field. Suppose it's one of those fields that it's hard to get into entry-level wise, perhaps? Had we known that 2 years later I'd be a bartender and Reed would be unemployed, I might not have studied so hard in the first place. Then again, I was lucky to still have them as a roommate. I smiled. What are you looking so sappy about? He eyed me suspiciously. I wiped the smile off of my face and tried to pay attention to the TV instead. One with bedraggled blonde hair was now running down a muddy hill, the killer pursuing her. Oh no! He kept falling. It was obvious that he would catch up soon. Nothing, I said. Just had a nice walk home, I guess. Reed snorted. Sure. Watched the bad horror movie for a little bit longer until it became clear that even my eyelids were starting to droop. Wishing Reed a good night, I pried myself in the couch and headed upstairs. A comfortable bed was waiting for me. Thump. That night, I dreamed that I was lost. Somewhere dark, cold, and damp. I couldn't see my own nose in front of my face. My fingers stung from the cold, and all I could hear was an occasional drip of water echoing throughout the cavern around me, as well as my own breathing. I had no sense of how long I'd been down there, no sense of which direction I had come from, no sense of whether I was even alone. I knew that in situations like these you were supposed to stay in one place and wait for help, but I had no idea whether a rescue was on its way. I had to keep moving. The ground was uneven under my feet. I took one slow, halting step after another with my arms stretched out before me. It was so dark that the only way I could tell if something was in front of me was by running into it. The sound of my footsteps echoed off the walls. I strained my ears, trying vainly to get a sense of the shape of the cavern from its acoustics. Fortunately, I do not have the ability to echolocate, so I settled for stumbling blindly forward instead. I couldn't tell how long I walked. The complete darkness made it hard to tell whether it had been minutes, hours, or even days. Cold water had soaked into my shoes. My legs ached. My teeth chattered. All I could really do was hope that there would be more rock under my feet each time I took a step. There could be a hole a mile deep right in front of me. I wouldn't know until I was halfway to the bottom. The steady sound of my steps continued to be the only sound filling the cavern as I marched forward, until I heard something else. Yeah, engineering's still a good degree to have, but it should depend on what kind of engineering, yeah? I suppose it's a matter of location and kind of engineering, too. Like Mahiro said, gotta stay calm in a situation like this. A soft, rasping whisper mixed in with my echoing footsteps made the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. I stopped dead in my tracks. It sounded distant and warped by the cavern's acoustics, turning whatever words were being spoken into meaningless noise. Asking? Telling? Pleading? All I could tell was that the words were directed at me. I shivered and turned to face the direction that I had come from, hoping that would help me hear them better. No matter how much I strained, though, I couldn't make any sense of the echoing, faraway murmurs. Then I heard simply distant footsteps mixed in with the noise. For a moment I mistook them for the echoes of my own walking. I hadn't moved, have I? The steps continued. I stayed frozen on the spot. A pit formed in my stomach. There was someone else here. I turned and started running in a panic. Despite the suffocating darkness, I dashed onward. I ran until my lungs burned from the exertion, my previous aches forgotten. The whispers continued. Even though I was running at top speed, they didn't sound any further away. Still, I fled. The only thing that could stop me was the ground, falling out under my feet. Oh! My heart skipped a beat. Just as I feared, there was a hole in the tunnel floor. The only way I could tell, of course, was by the fact that the next step I was due to take had missed the ground entirely. I'd lost my balance and toppled forward, gravity working its magic on me. Wind rushed by as I fell. And fell. Then I woke up, soaked in sweat, to the sound of my alarm. That distortion effect on real photos, that's the Higurashi. That's the vintage Higurashi vibe there, I feel like. Over the next few weeks, I tried to put my vivid nightmare from my mind. Focused instead on the warm weather, which had brought with it a new wave of tourists. It was still mid-spring, but it felt like I'd become summer almost overnight. Although they were underprepared, many of the tourists were drawn to Duck Cave, leading to a fresh crop of disappearances. Oh, Jason had been right about that much. Fortunately, he hadn't been right that they would all find their way out. I mean, they did pull a bunch of folks out earlier today, I think. That's still like a dozen or so people missing down there. Beams of falling, always terrifying. Let me find that article I was looking at. Read fiddled with their phone, dredging through their search history. Oh, here it is. They leaned across the table, showing me an open page of a local news article. It covered a successful search and rescue attempt conducted in Duck Cave one day ago. Top of the page even had a picture of a pair of rescuers hauling some poor person off a stretcher. Rescue team had apparently gotten a number of people out overnight, but efforts were still ongoing. I stood up from the table and stretched. Just what I need to hear on my day off, I grumbled. Reed laughed. As long as you don't go jumping into any mysterious caves, you'll probably be fine. Yeah. I huffed out a laugh of my own as I opened the door. You see him? Tell Jason I said hi. Oh yeah, I should go bug him while I'm out. I do like the small town vibes of this scene here. The spring sun warmed my body as I walked through town running errands. Made the previous winter's string of rainy, dreary months feel like a bad dream. The streets are busier, too. A lot of people were out wandering between shops, enjoying the weather. That's right, I should see if Jason is in today. You can't just seem to stay away from it. We were hauling people out right up until a few hours ago. Sounds about right. Like half the gear sets we rented out in the past week never got back to us. This keeps up, we have to stop doing rentals altogether. Walked into the shop. Saw Jason working the register and talking to a tired-looking woman with a backpack. So what is this being about? We're in a tiny, like, vacation town, Twin. We're in a tiny vacation town, and a cave has been discovered at the edge of town named Duck Cave. Hello, Twin. How's it going? So, this game takes place in a tiny vacation town. Yeah, bartending and creepy caves. Time to mix drinks and have nightmares about falling in caves. Yeah, give me the quick TLDR. We're in a vacation town. We're a bartender. A cave has been discovered on the edge of town named Duck Cave. It's become like the big hot adventure spot. So people are coming to town to go there, and they're going missing, and they're not being found. So at this point, these disappearances have been going on for a few weeks. It's starting to get a bit much. I seemed caught up in their conversation and hadn't noticed me yet, so I busied myself with pretending to look at a nearby rack of bags. Oh, ma'am. I don't know why I haven't closed the place off yet. We're lucky that the people we found today were still alive, but there are more down there. The one closed her eyes and pinched the bridge of her nose. Trying to navigate in the dark gives me a headache. Rescuer? You probably need sleep. Pulling all-nighters like that can't be good for you. Don't close the entrance off until I can get down there myself. Jason, no. These bachelors have been working me too hard. Gotta get out there this weekend. The woman chuckled. Just make sure you're careful. I have to drag you out of there on a stretcher. I've never let you live it down. Hey, I'm plenty careful. When have I ever not been? That was that one time, and never mind, forget I asked. Here's a receipt. Right, talk to you later. Grabbed her gear and receipt and headed for the door. Ma'am? She passed by on the other side of the rack that I was still pretending to look at. Seeing her up close after the half-overheard conversation made something ping in my mind. I'd seen this woman in the news article I'd read earlier. She'd been the subject of the attached image, dragging underprepared tourists out of the cave on a stretcher. I guess it only made sense that she would be here. With the door closed behind her, I was startled from my thoughts. Don't think I don't see you over there, Max. Jason's voice drew me out from behind the rack of bags. I've been caught. Not that I was really hiding in the first place, but it seemed like you were busy. Didn't want to butt in, I said sheepishly. What, do you not know Laura? I'm sure I mentioned her before. She does volunteer search and rescue stuff. I'll have to introduce you sometime. Maybe, I said, glancing after Laura as she passed by the storefront's window. Mostly just came to say hello. Oh, when Reed says hi too. Jason laughed. You'll never come by to see me, never to buy anything. What'd I buy? It's not like I do any outdoor sports. Well, you should start. I'm going to Duck Cave this weekend. You should come with me. That's the last thing I need right now. Do you know about the nightmares I had? Thought of setting foot in that cave where so many people had disappeared in the darkness made my stomach churn. It made quite the face because Jason immediately looked like someone who had accidentally stepped on a dog's tail and heard it yelp. I mean, you don't have to, but if you're interested, I think it would be fun. It'd be like a boys' night thing, you know? Most caving accidents happen because people go in unprepared, and I won't be unprepared. So, you don't have to worry. Will you be living it down? Will it be dying it up? I think I'll have to pass. Maybe I'll join another time. Maybe for a different sport I had it internally. If you change your mind, let me know. I will. With that, I left the gear shop. The sunlight burned away my lingering claustrophobia, and I walked down the sidewalk. That guy. I shook my head. I knew Jason would probably be fine, but his insistence on seeing Duck Cave when somebody had disappeared into it made my hair stand on end. I was a little curious about what could be down there, sure, but my self-preservation instincts crushed that idea before it went anywhere either stupid or actionable. I shook my head again to clear it. I had other things to do anyhow. The moon. That night, I climbed up onto the roof of our house. I often came here when I needed some space to think or cool my head. There was something about the expanse of the sky and the night breeze that just felt soothing. I tipped my head back. I saw the stars spread out above me like gems dropped onto a swath of velvet. I imagined that I could read some meaning there, promised that everything would return to normal soon. Jason's expedition would pass uneventfully. Everyone's still missing inside Duck Cave that would be rescued, and tourist season wouldn't swamp me too much. Before long, my life would settle back into the same rut it had occupied since college. I tried not to think too much about how this disconcerted me. Instead, I drove my thoughts back to the stars. The tiles of our roof were rough beneath my palms as I leaned back even farther, till all I could see was blackness speckled with pinpoints of light. So much empty space, open to eternity. But the people still in the cave would give an arm and a leg to see this right now. The night sky was nearly as dark as the cave would be. Thinking about the claustrophobia and confusion of being underground made me shudder. There would be no stars, no Milky Way. If their flashlight batteries died, the lost cavers would find themselves in utter blackness, stuck waiting helplessly for rescue. This was what people like Laura did, I reminded myself. They rescued people from the blackness. Nobody would be trapped there forever. His self-preservation instincts are admirably developed, yeah. He's a remarkably firm sense of danger, Max has. Appreciate that in him. Jason was an experienced caver. Wouldn't make the same mistakes as the beginners. Struggling to avoid the topic, my thoughts circled the idea of Jason's upcoming excursion, like water around a drain. To distract myself, I leaned over and felt for the knob of my radio. He often brought it up to the roof with me on clear nights like this, letting the antenna stab up into the heavens as it searched for signals. It wasn't anything close to a professional, but sometimes it was fun to poke around in the radio waves and listen to a conversation or two. And even chatted with other amateurs on certain bands, usually about our radio sets and the weather. Hearing other people would do me good right now. Easy for me to say. It would remind me that everything in this world was still rolling around as normal. I flicked the switch, activating the radio's glowing orange light. I twisted the knob until music emerged from the static to fill the air. I can get behind this jam. I flipped between various local stations for a while, but it did nothing to calm me down. Needed a real distraction. Maybe an inane chat would help. A little more carefully than when I had looked at music, I leaned over to the radio and tuned it until I found an empty band. Then I picked up my microphone, which I had brought up with me just in case, pressed the switch on the side and called, "CQ? CQ?" It was assigned to other radio operator. operators that I was looking to connect with them. Amateur radio? Yeah. Sure enough, after a few seconds, I heard another voice. CQ, this is A22MC, Alpha 22, Mike Charlie. The voice was low and a little fuzzed, as though the speaker were calling from a distance or at a subpar set. Nonetheless, anticipation spiked in my stomach. I pressed my mic switch again. I hear you, A22MC. This is MO7NB. Hey there. Static ruled for an instant. Realized that I was the one who'd wanted to have a conversation. I wasn't sure what to say. Oh, you that was CQ for come quick. Do you wonder what it actually stands for? Like, it's got to stand for something in that context, right? It can be the symbol for, it could be like, maybe I'm thinking computer terms, it'd be like connection query. Why not? That feels too clinical, though. Wasn't sure what to say. My reflexes took over and I fell back on small talk. You in Hilltop? I asked. Indeed I am. You? Yeah, me too. I frowned as I spoke, turning this new fact over in my mind. Funny. I thought I'd talked with all the radio operators in Hilltop before, or at least heard their voices. It wasn't often that people brought their radios on vacation with them, but perhaps my caller had. They could be new to the hobby, I reflected. While I paused to think, they moved on to the next topic. How's the weather looking? I expressed a laugh. Another radio operator buried in their garage, their antenna serving as their single link to the outside world. I preferred the roof, where I could breathe the fresh air. Beautiful, I said. You know those nights where it's so dark you feel like you can see every star in the sky? This is one of those. Must be nice, the voice replied. I shrugged, despite knowing they couldn't see me. Take your head outside and take a look if you want. Plenty of stars, even from the center of town. They only lead to where I don't want to go yet. The response came through as clearly as the previous sentence had. It didn't make any sense. I paused, frowning. Sorry, repeat? Besides, it'd be difficult to poke my head outside from where I'm at. I'm starting to get a cold feeling all over my body. Did you take your radio with you in the cave? Like goosebumps, but deeper. What do you mean? I forced myself to ask. Thought you were in Hilltop. Sure I am. Duck Cave falls within city limits, technically. Did you know that? Work of borders drawn when they thought the town would expand. The cave found, maybe it finally will. I didn't listen to the talk about city limits. The first sentence had me fidgeting, waiting for my turn to speak. My thumb sweated on my mic switch. But you can't be in Duck Cave, I blurted as soon as the caller stopped speaking. No signal could get out from down there. That's hundreds of feet of dirt and rock. And yet. It'd be nice to talk to you, no? Waited for more clarification over the fuzzing line, but nothing came. Who are you? I asked at last. You one of the missing cavers? Do you need help? Not yet, the voice replied, calm as ever. That's oddly dissonant. Are you... My voice was obliterated by feedback that swallowed the signal all at once, shrieking at me from the radio speakers until I gave the tuning wheel a desperate twist to break away from the band entirely. Sitting in the sudden silence, I set my mic down on the roof beside me with a thump. What was that? I didn't want Jason going into Duck Cave, I realized abruptly. I'd convince him to abandon the idea. It didn't matter if he was confident in his own abilities. People had already gone missing down there, for God's sake. This is kinda sorta starting to give me Higurashi vibes in a tone way, too. In, like, the slow encroaching feeling of dread starting to change your life. I like this. I really like this. Why couldn't everyone just live their comfortable lives and leave well enough alone? That night I dreamed about the cavern again. The cavern came the return of that distant voice, but this time it didn't approach me. Its owner stayed firmly out of reach, lurking in the darkness. I still couldn't tell where it was coming from, like that it wasn't getting closer. Some of the noises had the shape of words without any of the associated meaning, while others sounded more like rhythmic patterns or bursts of static. Pulsating dots and dashes. There is Morse code in the itch page. There is Morse code in the page there. It sounds like Morse code. The sensation made my heart leap up in my throat. I needed to figure out what it said. Needed to... Why? I wasn't sure, but I felt like I had to decipher the sounds. Trying to translate them mentally didn't work. The patterns flowed in one ear and out the other. They were frictionless in my head, impossible to grasp. A dozen dashes piled up on top of one another and faded away into the echoes of the cavern. Panic began to rise in my chest. Why couldn't I understand what was being said? I knew Morse codes. Why was this so impossible? Couldn't figure it out then shook my head, trying to clear the sense of pressure that was beginning to close in on me. Maybe if I kept moving, I could get away from whatever was going to happen. It didn't matter which direction, just away was enough. Walked for a while, but the sound didn't fade. Covering my ears didn't help. Eventually I realized that I could see a faint light in the cavern ahead of me. It cast faint, flickering shadows on the tunnel walls, illuminating the outlines of textured rock formations. Dim as it was, after so long in the dark, it felt like looking directly into the sun. I scrambled toward the light, squinting. It came from a sturdy-looking, well-worn oil lantern, sitting on the floor next to a canvas backpack. The flame was weak, but steady. I squatted down on the floor next to the bag to take a better look at it, my panic momentarily forgotten. It was mostly empty, with only a notebook, a pen, and an emergency radio sitting at the bottom. I switched the radio on and started to fiddle with the dials. Sharp static burst from the speakers, then morphed into the same dots and dashes interspersed with distant murmurs that I had been hearing. They sounded clearer this time, more comprehensible. I fished the pen and the notebook out of the bag and began transcribing. These messages didn't mean anything, did they? Couldn't figure them out. Let's actually play around a little bit. Yeah, it is nonsense letters, from what I can tell. Curious. Even written down, they were nonsense. Like the voice-like chatter, the messages had the shape of words without the attached meaning. Panic from before began to grip at me again. Couldn't figure out what the messages were saying to me, then... In a last-ditch effort, I grabbed the radio and spoke into it, hoping there was a receiver somewhere in there to pick up my voice. Yeah, it might be some kind of cipher. It's also in character ciphered in that case. I don't know what you're trying to tell me. Where am I? What's going to happen to me? Last thing it said, what was that? Oh, is this something you can translate? Oh, hello. It's interesting. We all we will be. Oh. That would mean something. Look down at the scroll-covered notebook in my lap, double-check what I had just transcribed, but lantern was knocked over with a clang, and the meager light I had been working by vanished. The last sentence there means, we will be together. I hadn't touched it, so what had knocked it over? A high-pitched squeal of static crawled through the radio speakers, interrupting my thoughts. I hadn't been able to figure out the messages. It was too late to escape this place. It'd be like trying to escape the force of gravity. The radio static drowned out any attempt to listen to the Morse code, but somehow you could still hear distant footsteps approaching. Woke up drenched in sweat. Again. It was early in the morning and still dark outside. My bedroom window was a thick blanket of clouds covered the sky, smothering any light that tried to break through. Despite my efforts to persuade him otherwise, Jason went to Duck Cave that weekend, and he didn't come back. Jason! Dang it. He hadn't come to the bar to boast about his exploits, and all my texts had gone unread. It had only been a few days, I reminded myself. He was probably just exhausted from crawling all over rocks for a day straight and sleeping it off at home, but it was starting to bother me. That was why I had gone out for a walk this afternoon, to get my mind off of Jason. This trail was a favorite of mine for days when I had little extra time before work. It was tucked away behind our neighborhood, and the view of the river always made me feel more at ease. The anxiety of the past few days had driven me out here more than usual. I groaned and rubbed my eyes while walking down the river trail. I'd been nursing a headache all morning. The complete lack of restful sleep I'd gotten lately wasn't helping matters. It felt like someone had filled my skull with molasses. Work started in a couple of hours. We're going to bonk right into her. If I hurried back home, I could try to sneak in a nap, but it would probably just lead to another nightmare at this point. Oh, we're going to bonk. The most I could likely hope for was not to collapse mid-shift. Bonk! I was shaking out of my thoughts by a head-on collision with the girl who had also been walking down the trail. Both toppled to the ground in a heap of limbs. Oh, wasn't paying enough attention. Sorry. She groaned, propping herself up on her elbows. Same here. Ow. I scrambled my feet and dusted myself off, then offered the girl a hand and helped her up. My tailbone and pride were both a bit bruised, but thankfully nothing seemed to be broken. The last thing I needed right now was a trip to the ER. Shit, it was my phone. I swiveled around and looked at the ground and around her, prompting me to do the same. Uh-oh. The smartphone in a purple case with a cracked screen lying near my feet, so I picked it up and handed it back to her. I sure hope that screen had been cracked beforehand. Whew. Thanks. She breathed a sigh of relief. She looks so tired. Don't worry about it. Meet cute? Meet pain? Now that I had a chance to look at her, I realized she wasn't someone I normally saw on my walks here. Was she a tourist or just someone I didn't know? She had long, scruffy beach blonde hair and deep bags under her eyes. Deeply relatable. She looked like she'd slept almost half as badly as I had this past week. My name's Summer. Nice to meet you. She stuck out a hand while wiping her dust-covered phone on her shirt. During the handshake. Max, same here. Visiting with the season? Don't think I've seen you around before. He sighed with a resigned expression. Yeah, my family's in town for a week because they're wind sport freaks. Got dragged along because I'm on spring break. She reached up and scratched her cheek. Been trying to figure out stuff I'll do while I'm here. Spring break? You a student? If she is, she must be a college student, I thought. Supper closed her eyes, tilting her head to the side and sighed. Yeah, for about 2 more months. And I tragically have to figure out what I have to do with myself forever. Well, I could always get stuck bartending in a tourist town, I joked, half to myself. Perked up at the mention of bartending. Is a bar here? Definitely all college to it. Yes, meat tired. Meat tired, indeed. Definitely a college student. Oh, what bar you work at? Maybe I'll check it out. Daniel's up on Main Street. It's... By the time I finished saying the name, she was already looking it up on her phone. Oh, that's not far from where I'm staying. Nice, I'll swing by later. We meet, and they are very tired. Working there tonight, so I guess I'll see you there if you do. For sure. Gotta tell me what kind of stuff there is to do in this town. Flashed a thumbs up. Talk to you later, Max. Probably wasn't the best person to ask about fun things to do, but I kept that to myself and waved her off. Continued my walk down the trail. Summer, huh? Well, she was definitely energetic, even though she looked like she hadn't slept in a week, and was eager to drink. The ideal customer. I hope she would be okay. I sighed. Nothing else. The conversation had taken my mind off of worrying about Jason for a bit. I hoped he would be okay, too. My brother went alone and didn't come back. I feel bad. Ab trending. Bat rending. Some of the bar's evening crowd, while usually annoying, felt almost soothing to me as I wiped down the counter. It was the exhaustion, I knew. So many braying voices should have had me gritting my teeth, but right about now, anything short of nails on chalkboard sounded like a sweet lullaby to me. I still had to stay awake and take orders, so I forced my thoughts to keep chugging along. Wondered if Summer would actually come by tonight. Surely there were better things to do with her spring break, even if her family had dragged her here. The bar was busy with other spring break tourists, and it was just far enough into the kitschy that it wasn't exactly a college student vibe. On the other hand, anywhere you could get a drink that was pretty much a college student vibe. Yeah, that tracks. There she is, still tired. Question answered. Summer made her way to the bar and took a seat. Hiya, she chirped. The dark circles beneath her eyes were still pronounced, but her energy was as high as it had been earlier. Wished I felt the same. Dropped my washcloth into a bin beneath the counter as I replied, "Hey there, what can I get you?" She hummed thoughtfully for a moment before ordering a cider, which I began to pour. "So," I said, "find anything fun to do in town?" She shook her head. I was hoping you might have some ideas. Although, to be honest, I haven't been sleeping well since we got here, so I might end up snoozing through the whole trip. Done mixed drinks and changed lives, heck yeah. I eyed the tired way her head drooped over her drink. Yeah, I wanted to say. You look exhausted. I opened my mouth to say something reassuring instead, but at that moment, one further down the bar waved to get my attention. I stepped away for a moment and got her the beer that she asked for. When I returned to Summer, she had her phone out and was tapping away at it. She looked up at my approach and took a sip of her cider. "Oh," she said. "What's your story?" I smiled. "Pretty sure I'm supposed to be asking you that. Bartender and all." He shrugged. You already know everything there is to know about me. On spring break, tired, bored. You, on the other hand, are a mystery. Huh, not so mysterious. I live here, I'm bartend, also tired. She laughed. That's it? Surely there's more to your story. Now it's my turn to shrug. Moved here with my college roommate after we graduated. I haven't really done much since then. What'd you major in? I snorted. Literature of all things. Sure you can understand why I couldn't get a job. She winced in sympathy. Yeah, the dreams, she's having them too. Oh, oh, oh! You made a very good point, Lilac. The reason the reason the cave has suddenly gained in popularity is because the dreams are calling people there, almost subliminally calling people there, and whatever's there is snagging them and keeping them. Search and rescue is rescuing those who don't get far enough in to be snatched, but there's still a fair amount of people being snatched and are probably not coming back. That's a very good call out, Lilac. I felt the urge to defend myself. But my roommate hasn't been able to find a job either. It's rough out there right now. She nodded again. Found myself scanning her face, wondering if she was hiding disdain. Maybe it was a little pathetic that I was living in a vacation town, bartending, with nothing to save up myself out. That was more interesting than I'm tired. I shook the thought away. I was probably only getting so down on myself because, ironically, I was tired. Anyway, you said you hadn't been sleeping well? Changed the subject. Is it because of being in a new place, or what? Summer blinked at me, but thankfully she didn't decide to call me on my clumsy transition. Oh, I need another cider if I start talking about that, I think, she said with a small laugh. We filled her drink and spent a while taking other orders. A couple left, laughing, and the door swung closed behind them. The time I had a chance to really talk to Summer again, she was on her third cider and still drinking steadily. She raised her eyebrows at me as I approached. Busy night, huh? She asked. Puffed my cheeks out, you're telling me. So, you want to know about my nightmares? I blinked, thrown by the sudden change of topic. I did the same thing earlier, though, so I don't have room to judge. Still, the fact that it had taken her a couple of ciders to get to this point meant that maybe she didn't really want to talk about it. I felt a little guilty. I just met Summer, and now I was asking her to bare her subconscious for me. Hey, if you don't want to talk about it, I decided. Waved a hand. No, it's fine. Maybe it'll help to get some of it out of my head. Better than letting it fester in there. I shrugged. If you say so. Over the next 10 minutes, Summer spun a grim picture of her night since coming to Hilltop. That's the opposite experience, baby. Bonding over drinks at the bar. Dreams of being in the dark, of drowning, of being trapped in a tiny space, the walls feeling as though they might collapse in on her at any moment. Yep, called it. Maybe it's leftover stress from midterm, she finished. I sure am sick of it. I'd give almost anything for a good night's sleep at this point. I nodded, half distracted. It was impossible to ignore how similar Summer's descriptions were to my own nightmares. I hadn't dreamed of drowning, true, but everything about being lost underground in the dark struck close to home. Too close. I didn't think Summer was lying to me, and I hadn't told her about my own nightmares at all, but something didn't make sense here. Summer was staring into the bottom of her empty glass. I cleared my throat, trying to sound casual. It's that you feel like you're underground in your dreams, I said. It's dark, how do you know? She didn't look up as she replied. It's a dream, I just feel it. Miles of rock and dirt pressing down on me. I tried to suppress a chill. Alright. And the drowning? Is it an underground lake? She spoke, her voice took on a hollow tone. She still wasn't looking at me. Her eyes were fixed on her empty drink as if it held the answers to an essential question. Her knuckles were white. They gripped the glass. It has it has roots and veins, like the carcass of something alive. Maybe it's still alive, only dormant, waking up in its belly. Water runs in some of its arteries, drowned in its lifeblood. I held my breath. Slowly, Summer tilted her chin up to meet my gaze. Dim bar lighting, the circles on her eyes looked more like bruises. I had to clear my throat. My mouth had gone dry. I think I have to cut you off. when she gives you the look and you say, "No more cider for you." Just like that, the tense moment shattered. Life returned to Summer's eyes, and she smiled at me with her usual upbeat energy. I should probably go home anyways, she said. I ran her card as she continued. Thanks for inviting me. Had a great evening, really. I looked a little dubious as I handed her card back because she waved one hand in the same dismissive fashion as when I'd asked if she really wanted to share her nightmares. Don't worry, he said. I'll go straight home. No funny business. Death almost called me back. So remember when I said this was giving me Higurashi vibes in tone too? Yeah, that yeah, that yeah, that hits the beats. That is I'm digging this. There are other patrons that needed my attention, so even though I wanted to say more, I just waved goodbye and watched her weave her way between the tables to the door. Her footsteps were steady, but after how incomprehensible she'd gotten during our conversation, I hoped she wouldn't have any trouble going home. I finished the rest of my shift without incident, sparing the occasional thought for Summer. Wondered if I should have asked for her phone number. Maybe then she could have texted me to let me know she'd made it home safely. But no, that was too much interest to take in someone I just met. Just something about the way she described her nightmares that made me feel as though we were... what? Connected? I shook the thought off, waved goodnight to my boss, and stepped outside in the night. Took a couple of deep breaths, relishing the fresh airs after so long in the bar. I tipped my head back, hoping to look at the stars, but it was cloudy. I dropped my chin again. I made eye contact with a woman standing across the street. Ma'am? She was leaning against the wall of a building, her arms crossed, looking in my direction. She wore a dark suit, which is why I hadn't seen her when I first stepped out from the bar. Why had she even been there? I wasn't sure, and the feeling unsettled me. Just vibing. We held each other's eyes for an instant too long, and then she turned away and began to walk down the street. I looked after her for a moment before starting in the opposite direction, toward my own home. I was halfway back before I realized what had been bothering me. I had seen that woman before. She'd been the one sitting at the end of the bar while Summer and I were talking. And she'd been there the entire night. Oh boy. Alright. Let's go. I sighed and shrugged on my jacket. It was raining outside. The waterproofing had worn off long ago. I knew I'd be soaked through before I got downtown. I had to get out of the house, though. Since Summer had come to the bar a few days ago, I'd spent all my time sleeping or at work. If I spent another day inside, I worried that I might actually lose it. Maybe going out would take my mind off all the craziness, too. Didn't want to hear a single word about Duck Cave or nightmares today. Thought I might go to the library or sit in the park for a while. Thought with the rain, or maybe the library was the better option. Before I could open the door, however, I heard Reed's voice from behind me. Hey Max, got a minute? I paused and turned around. Reed hovered awkwardly in the kitchen doorway, their shaggy hair hanging into their face. Sure, I said. What is it? Got something kind of important to tell you. Want to step back inside? Confused, I walked into the kitchen with them, aware of my shoes squeaking on the tile. They leaned back against the counter, sticking their hands in the pocket of their hoodie. Well, I asked. So I've been trying to bump up the job search lately. It's because I kind of fell off, and, I nodded. With the period Reed was talking about. Interminable year when even a single job application had seemed beyond him. I tried to cheer them up by bringing home snacks from the bar and playing board games with them, but it had been a long, hard battle. It do be like that. It was always good to hear that they weren't falling back into that place. I nodded. Anyway, I appreciate everything you did for me back then, and not that I'm working harder. Read, I don't mean to be harsh, but could you get to the point? They winced. Yeah, that's fair. Watched them take a deep breath. Suddenly, I had the feeling my life was about to change, that a rug was about to be pulled out from under me. I was right. Thing is, I got the job, Max. Blinked, surprised. That's a good thing. Oh, that's amazing, Reed. Congratulations. They smiled shyly. It's out of town, though, isn't it? Thanks. It's the engineering job I was hoping for. Finally, something in my actual career path. Hell yeah. I clapped him on the shoulder. That's great. You'll be able to... Uh, don't congratulate me too much. Yeah, I said, their eyes flitting away from me. They have to relocate for it, don't they? I paused. What do you mean? It's, well... do you remember how I told you the job was remote? To be honest, I didn't remember the specific job Reed was talking about. I supported them in their job search, of course. There's the spiels about plenty of jobs over the past few years, but they all seem to blur together. Of course, many of the positions they'd applied to had been remote, so I nodded anyway. They, changed their minds. Not remote anymore. What? The HQ office is in another state. Applied because I could work from home, but at this point I can't afford to be picky. Fortunately, it's away from the man-eating cave. I was beginning to realize why Reed had looked so nervous at the beginning of this conversation. And considering Reed and Max have been renting Reed's aunt's house, which is indeed going to be life-changing. Max losing his roommate, Max losing housing potentially. I felt my brows pull together in a frown. So, you're moving? They nodded. The company's paying for relocation, which is good, but yeah, I have to move. And here was the rug pull, the inevitable stomach-dropping plunge. I stood dumbly in the middle of my own kitchen and realized that a staple of my life was soon going to vanish from it. Without Reed, there was no way I'd be able to afford living in this house. Already, my mind was racing ahead. Did I have to find a new roommate? Could I even find a new roommate? Weren't many recent college grads at a vacation town like Hilltop, and I didn't really want to live with someone much older than me. I was assuming that Reed's aunt's friends, whatever relation she was, would even let me live here once they were gone. Tried to calm my racing mind. When? I asked. Reed looked even more nervous. 2 months, I said. 2 months. The length of time seemed both unforgivingly long and impossibly short. Oh, I said. There wasn't really anything else to say. I'm sorry, Reed said. It wasn't an offer I could turn down. I stood there in silence. For a moment, I imagined moving with Reed to a new city, starting my life over. Maybe I could get a bartending job at a new place, continue the same existence I've been eking out since college. It didn't make sense. How would I uproot my entire life to keep a roommate, even one who was a good friend? Reed probably wouldn't want me to move with them anyway. They were starting a new life. Be employed. They wouldn't need a deadbeat bartender of a friend hanging off with them anymore. Oh, I read that as hanging out with them anymore, but the actual wording is even more painful. Hanging off of them anymore. I felt an undeniable, unidentifiable mix of emotions rising within me. I felt like I was going to be sick or maybe throw something. I felt like the walls of the house were closing in around me. And you didn't think to tell me before you got the job? I heard myself saying. There's been rounds of interviews, but I've known you were in the running before. Uh-oh. I could hear my own voice rising as I spoke, even though I hated it. I didn't deserve to be yelled at for achieving what they'd been working toward all these years. I couldn't stop myself. Sorry, Reed exclaimed, cutting me off and walked quickly out of the room. I feel bad enough about this already. And we have an understandable reaction, but one that we will very much regret once we calm down. I stood in the kitchen until I heard their bedroom door slam. Yeah, that's... What the hell am I going to do now? I stormed out of the house and ended up wandering without really thinking about it. Didn't move around. I felt like I would explode from the frustration. It wasn't that I thought Reed would never move away from here, but it always felt like an eventually, not a soon. Certainly not a now. Even 2 years ago when they started to grumble more often about wanting a full-time job, or when they started applying like mad to anything even somewhat related to their degree, when they'd started to gain traction after months of radio silence with a trickle of interviews here and there. Somehow, it had always felt like an ambiguous future goal, one that wouldn't be achieved for a long time. The concept of leaving and succeeding and going somewhere else to finally start living a real life felt as impossible to me as escaping the pull of gravity. Why would it feel different for other people? But it wasn't impossible. Reed's fresh start had simply come at the cost of screwing me over. I had been left in the lurch. I trudged through the flow of people milling about on the sidewalk. The question posed itself again. What the hell was I going to do now? Find another roommate? Not likely. The other person I knew who'd rented was Jason, and he'd been missing for the better part of a week. Find another place to live in town? Where? Every empty house around here was the vacation home of someone who made more in a month than I made in a year. We could only afford our place because we were getting cheap rent in exchange for house sitting. There was nowhere to go. But a town entirely? It was even more difficult to picture. Thoughts and frustrations circled each other in my head like a dog chasing its tail. Even on this busy street, I was totally alone. Even in this beautiful town that people flocked to, I was trapped. Perfect picture postcard-worthy scenery. River and mountains, they all felt like they would crush me. Wasn't that some? Oh, hey! She's looking well! The girl I had met the other day, Summer. She was standing stock still in the middle of the sidewalk and staring in my direction. I'd been so wrapped up in my thoughts that I hadn't noticed her there. Thankfully, I was able to keep myself from running directly into her a second time. Made eye contact, but she didn't say anything. Summer looked even more haggard than the last time I had seen her. Bags under her eyes had grown more prominent. Her... Oops, all bags. Summer, how you doing? I tried my best to pull myself out of my rapidly forming bad mood and stumbled through a greeting. Summer didn't answer. Had she been looking for me, or was she just out for a walk? She swayed a bit where she stood, like she was on the verge of passing out. I raised my hands timidly, unsure whether I should be prepared to catch her. Hey, you okay? Maybe we should... Max, going tonight. Going? Going where? Hi, Freya, is everything fine? No, everything is not fine. Everything is gradually getting worse. Everything is slowly getting worse. It's not fine, but I'm... You know where. Duck Cave. We're going to Duck Cave and we are probably going to die. I will say this, Freya, and I know you will get this vibe. You can probably sense the vibe just from looking at her sprite and the background, but this gives me Higurashi vibes in many, many ways. The design sense, character sprites, and hell, setting even, picturesque vacation town with something ominous brewing that gradually starts to ebb into the daily life of our protagonist here, who and now things are getting so much worse. Max, our protagonist, a bartender, his roommate got a job and is moving away, and now Max is going to be left struggling to find a new place to live. And Summer's here on vacation. She's having a very bad time, and we're going to the cave that eats people. That's the most important part of this, Freya. We're going to the cave that eats people. Mentioned the cave made my head start to hurt. But we should talk more inside. She cut me off again and gestured at the shop we had stopped in front of, a small ice cream parlor. Too thrown by her demeanor to argue, I nodded and we headed inside. We ordered and sat down at a small table in the back of the shop with our cones. Eating ice cream while talking about the cave that eats people. So, why are you going to the cave? My family's leaving town tomorrow evening. If I don't go now... Well, heard how many people have disappeared, right? I nodded. I heard they're talking about closing off the entrance. If I don't go now, and if I come back to town someday, I won't be able to see it. Never know what's at the bottom of that cave. She took a bite of her ice cream while considering her choice of words. So what I'm saying is, don't expect to see me around at the bar or anything again. I sat there in shock for a moment. First Jason, now Summer too? Even if you're leaving in the evening, there would definitely be time to drop by and say goodbye before you left, right? You tell me what you saw in the cave. Really hope she didn't mean what I thought she meant. Summer gave me a bitter smile and looked off to the side. She didn't reply. My stomach twisted into knots. It's dangerous. I know. A lot of people have gotten hurt. I know. Do you even know how to cave? Doesn't matter. Dragged my unoccupied hand down to my face in exasperation. The thing I was saying was getting through to her. Summer continued to steadily eat her ice cream as we sat, biting through the cone. I've decided. I'm going. I have to know. This is my only chance. I don't even know how to cave, jeez. Finished off the last of her ice cream cone and wiped her hands with a napkin. You can't change my mind. Just figured I should let you know where I was going. She stood up, scooting her chair back. Would have liked to get to know you better, but thanks for listening to me anyways. Goodbye, Max. Before I could put together a response, she had walked out the door, leaving only the jingle of the chime as evidence that she had been there at all. I didn't know what to do. Today had really gone from bad to worse. I rolled the preceding conversation over in my head and sat there in the ice cream shop like a statue. Jason, Reed, Summer. Everyone kept leaving, and all I could do was watch it happen. Suddenly broken out of my thoughts by a cold sensation on my hand. My ice cream had melted. A river of mint chip would drip down from my wrist and onto my leg, making a sticky mess. I hadn't taken a single bite. Are we going? My walk home was both uneventful and very distracted. I didn't really want to do anything except crawl into bed. When I approached my house, though... Oh? There's a woman in a cleanly pressed suit at the front door, periodically ringing the doorbell and peering through the window. What on earth was this? I walked down the steps toward the door. She must have heard me because she visibly jumped and turned around to face me. It's her! It's the woman from the bar, I realized. How had she gotten my address? Sorry, do you live here? I'm looking for Maxwell Harrison. How about we talk in the car? My AC is quite good. I have something important to tell him. Yeah, that's me. Who are you? Excellent. Call me Sharma. I'm from the Forestry Service. Put on an ID badge and a lanyard with one hand, and extended the other, which I accepted in a firm handshake. The Forestry Service. Raised an eyebrow. A suit like that looked more at home in a three-letter agency than in the woods. But Forestry Service was what her badge said. Nice to meet you. I'm Max. You seem to already know who I am, though? Wasn't really a question, but skepticism raised my tone at the end of the sentence regardless. Yes, that's right. May I come in? It's really something we should discuss inside. She gestured to the door. This day had already been such a mess. I had no will to resist. Sure, I sighed. The door. We entered the house, taking off our shoes in the entryway, and made our way to the dining table. I grimaced at the miscellaneous clutter covering the kitchen. Reed must have left the house while I was gone, judging from how Sharma had been ringing the doorbell when I showed up. That was probably for the best. Still a little pissed at them. Sharma and I sat down opposite each other. First, before I say anything, it's very important that you know this conversation is completely off the record. By all accounts, I shouldn't be talking to you, so if anyone asks, I was never here. Got it? Sure, got it. My assumption that she was here on some sort of official forestry business had just flown out of the window. Who was this woman? Good. Now, secondly, have you heard about the recent string of disappearances related to Duck Cave? Yeah, I think most people living here have at some point. It'd been the main thing turning the rumor mill this past month, after all. It was hard to avoid. Thirdly, have you been suffering from chronic nightmares, maybe involving a fear of darkness or a fear of something communicating with you? Feeling of something communicating with you. The question made my blood run cold. How the hell did she know about that? Summer had mentioned her nightmares at the bar. I'd never talked about mine. What the hell? Yes or no? Well, yes. That's what I thought. He reached up and fiddled with a lock of her hair, looking off to the side. Where exactly are you going with this? She looked back at me. Stairs, and if you go to Duck Cave, I can almost guarantee that you won't ever come out again. What? How do you know that for certain? Many people have disappeared down there, and it's dangerous and all that, but much people have been rescued too, right? This whole conversation felt like it was happening on a totally different wavelength than what I was equipped to deal with. I'm on a team currently doing research in Duck Cave. Can't tell you what for. What he's saying too much. The cave or something and living in it has a noticeable mental effect on humans. Most people don't feel anything until they're very deep in the cave, but some... She paused, considering her words. Some people are more or less sensitive to it than others. They can range all the way from being essentially immune to the cave to being affected without even entering it. I understood the point she was dancing around. Like while living in a nearby town, you mean? She gave me a grim smile. Exactly. And poor Summer has been utterly bombarded just from visiting. Symptoms themselves can take many different forms. We've been able to do much formal research on it yet, but anecdotally I've seen that the most affected subjects experience nightmares. Some sort of obsession with a cave or experiencing a compulsion to enter it are also common. You're most likely particularly sensitive if you're experiencing nightmares all the way out here. I'd highly recommend getting out of town as soon as you can. Otherwise they'll only get worse, and you run the risk of going into Duck Cave and never coming back. Like that girl you were talking to, for example. You mean Summer? Did you talk to her? I was already concerned about her from our conversation earlier, and she seemed to fit Sharper's description to a T. Yes, I spoke with her yesterday. I tried to tell her the same things I told you, but I may have been too late. I already expressed an active plan to go into that cave. It seems I had better luck on my timing here. Although we might go just to protect Summer. Feeling that's where we're going. She stood from the table and began walking out of the room before turning her head to face me. Now I should get going. I hope you consider what I've told you. Hey, wait, you can't just drop Duck Cave as psychically manipulating people on me and then leave? Yes, I can. Please take care, Mr. Harrison. Before I could even stand up, she was gone. I heard the clunk as the front door closed behind her. This was the third time today I had been left like that. I rested my elbows on the table. God, that terrified me. Hello! Bang, hello, we're here to watch the weirdness. Goodness gracious, hello everybody! Right, We are here. We are here. Bang was playing content warning. How is content warning? I've heard things about it. I've seen it. I haven't heard much about it. We've got a good patapon don chaka going. But alas, Peng, the divine gamer of chaos and strategy, has been on a quest. Oh, sorry. Let me read this description properly here. Why is Chat doing that? Peng, the divine gamer of chaos and strategy, has been on a quest to conquer both the mortal realm and the underworld. From farming sim shenanigans to epic RPG adventures, they've been collecting gin, battling depression with espresso, and celebrating their birthday in style. Heck yeah. Their latest spooky streamception had viewers on the edge of their seats. Will they save the world or succumb to the depths? Tune in for a mix of horror, RPGs, and wholesome chaos. Heck yes. But alas, we're here to watch the weirdness. Feel free to just chill and vibe. And as we seem to be very much in the late game of this particular VN, this is called They Looked Like Stars. It's a game that takes place in a picturesque vacation town with a ominous secret brewing in a location called Duck Cave. Something inside the cave is trying to draw us in. If you've ever played the Higurashi When They Cry, this game has been giving me major vibes for Higurashi. So feel free to, for anyone involved in the content warning collab, feel free to sit back and chill, do what you need to do, get a drink of water, take a break, stretch, relax, and hang tight. And I will look after the collection for the time being. Thank you for trusting me with them. There was no way I could handle anything else right now. All I wanted was to crawl up to my room and sleep. So I did. I was so exhausted from everything that had happened in that day that I was asleep with my head at the pillow. I dreamt I was in that cavern again. Like in my other dreams, it was pitch dark. Cold, stale air pressed down around me. I was in some sort of tunnel, wide enough that I could have stood in the center with both arms outstretched. I kept one hand on the right wall to steady myself. The route felt familiar, like walking to work. Footsteps echoed through the tunnel as I walked. Where was I going? The end of the tunnel, maybe. If I went down far enough, there would have to be somewhere to stop and rest. Regardless, my legs carried me forward automatically. Oh, good stars. They look like stars to you? Legs carried me forward automatically. I let them take me where they wanted. After a while, the tunnel floored and my feet started to slope gently downward. Just by a few degrees, but enough that I could feel it as I walked. Similarly, the tunnel wall that I dragged my hand over began to curve inward. I was walking in a wide, downward spiral toward the center of the earth. The tunnel itself began to tighten, too. Didn't notice it at first, but after walking far enough, the tunnel ceiling started to graze the top of my head. It's getting narrow, I moved an arm's length away from the right wall and tried to stretch out both my arms, only to find that my left one knocked into the opposing wall halfway. I was talking about this before, but I don't consider myself claustrophobic, but some of the tight spaces that people explore in caves, that like that that stuff gets me. That is terrifying. Some of the tight spaces in these caves that people actually put themselves in. Still, I couldn't stop there. I couldn't turn back now. That's too much for me there. The tunnel continued to shrink as I walked forward. Walking turned into slouching. It's turned into hunching. It's turned into crawling on my hands and knees. Rough stone of the tunnel floor left indents on my palms and tore through the knees of my pants. Couldn't help but wonder why I was still going forward. It was the end of this tunnel that I needed to see so badly. Eventually I was left worming forward on my stomach like a snake, tunnel walls pressing inward on both my shoulders. My progress slowed. I was fighting friction. Miles worth of rock wanted to keep me in place, so all I could do was stay there. I realized I was really firmly stuck in the tunnel, lying flat on my stomach with my arms in front of me. Any attempts to scoot backwards failed miserably. Any attempts to scoot forward just made the situation that much worse. My heart rate began to pick up. There was rock pressing in on every inch of my torso, and I could feel my heartbeat hammering against it. Even without me moving, the tunnel seemed to be constricting further. Oh, I don't like this feeling. I tried to take the deep breath to calm myself, try not to panic, but the tunnel made that impossible as well. Every time I inhaled, the force of multiple tons of rock pressed inward on me. My lungs couldn't expand fully. I tried to squeeze out a feeble cry for help, but was lost in the darkness, absorbed by the tunnel walls before I could reach anyone. I resorted to taking short, shallow breaths as I continued to listen to the blood rushing in my ears. Panic, or lack of oxygen, or both, was beginning to make me dizzy. Pressure on my body was turning into active pain, too. My shoulders were being pushed into their sockets. Rough rock scraped my skin with every movement I took. I barely breathed, and my ribs ached. I didn't know how long I had been stuck at this point, just that I was most likely going to die here. The slab of rock pressing down on my back began to shudder. I could feel it through my whole body. There was a distant grinding, creaking noise of stone on stone. I felt sick. There was just enough time for me to register what was about to happen. Ooh. And the gap between the ceiling and the floor shrank to nothing. It became an unbroken mass of rock with a crunch. Oh, and summer's probably already gone, too. I woke up in a heap on the floor, tangled in a cascade of bed sheets. Clocks showed that it was the middle of the night. I had slept for a few hours, but it felt like I hadn't rested at all. I looked out the window at the dimly lit eaves of the neighboring house. Where was Summer right now? Was she in that cave, living out my nightmare? I didn't know. I decided to climb back into bed, close my eyes, and try to go back to sleep, still half feeling the phantom sensation of a mile of rock on top of me. But I couldn't sleep. I couldn't stop thinking about Summer. time my eyes closed, the darkness behind my eyelids was transmuted into the darkness of a dark cave. The rough stone walls seeming to press in around me, the endless drip of water coming from somewhere within. What was she going through right now? She didn't know how to operate in the cave. She'd practically told me as much herself. She was just winging it. That couldn't be safe. She very clearly told us going in that she was not planning on coming out. It must have been the sixth or seventh time that I tried to sleep. I snatched about 10 minutes of shut-eye. Sat bolt upright, thinking again of seeping water and tumbling rock. I had to go save Summer from that cave. As soon as I made the decision, I felt a confident peace come over me. This was the solution. Why hadn't I thought of it before? I was the one who knew Summer was in that cave. I was the one who knew her. I might be able to convince her to come out with me. It all made so much sense. If I went into that cave, I wouldn't have to worry anymore. Mate's new job, my missing friends, none of it would matter. I would figure it out. Sharma's advice suddenly seemed small and insignificant in my mind. It's like a cave? She was being crazy. She didn't have friends down there. She didn't understand. Before I knew it, I was out of bed and dressed. I put on an empty backpack and after a moment's hesitation, dropped a water bottle in it. I wasn't sure what else I would need for my journey into the cave, so I added a couple of protein bars from Reed's stash. Is there an opposite of Wahoo Rat? There is unfortunately not un-Wahoo Rat on my emote slots. I should probably do that. That would be fitting. I was sure they wouldn't mind my borrowing them, especially once I saved a life. Let's also keep in mind our actual friend Jason, who knows about, 15 minutes later I was at Jason's apartment. Here he is. Jason, our friend who actually knows how to cave, went into, Duck Cave. Had to be over a week ago now, at least. Lived on the second floor, and I climbed the stairs quietly, not wanting to awake anyone on the floors below. When I reached Jason's door, I retrieved his spare key, hidden beneath a fake rock in the hallway, despite there being no reason for a rock to be there, and let myself in. He had no roommate, so my mission was simple. I tried not to get distracted by how empty the apartment felt. I'd never been there without Jason before. I rooted through his closet until I found what I thought must be necessary for caving. I cobbled together my kit from things Jason had mentioned when recounting excursions to me, as well as grabbing whatever I thought might help me. I ended up with a helmet, electric lantern, a couple of boots sturdier than the tennis shoes I was wearing. Good thing Jason and I wore the same size. Once I've returned the stuff to him, maybe he can tell me what I actually did and didn't need. Better safe than sorry, I thought, loading what looked like a miniature pickaxe into my bag. Oh, I guess that's for getting hold of sheer rock. I decided that I would try to find Jason while I was rescuing Summer. He would be so glad to see me, I've reflected. I would hand him my water bottle and a protein bar, and he would feel so much better after being trapped underground for over a week now. Maybe I shouldn't have felt so confident, but I was just relieved to finally be doing something. Is they prepared? Certainly. I didn't know why I hadn't thought of this earlier. Was that pesky self-preservation instinct? Once I was in the cave, everything would work itself out. Put on the helmet and a pair of knee pads. I tucked the lantern beneath my arm. It was that dang self-preservation resisting the call of the cave. I checked myself out in Jason's mirror and reflected that I looked every inch the part, as much of a caver as Jason had ever been. I remembered when Jason had said about inexperienced cavers disappearing and shivered for a moment. I'd be fine, I'd be wiser than them. I knew Summer and Jason were down there, and I would find them, no problem. Right? What could go wrong? The sky was beginning to grow light in the east when I arrived at Duck Cave. The pale pink clouds made the entrance to the cave look even darker. It was really just a hole in the side of the hill. It seemed to yawn open as I approached, like a beast's hungry maw. You really said that I'm him. Eh. I shook the feeling off. I was going to find Summer and Jason. Everything was going to be fine. Everything's fine. Everything's... I lowered myself carefully down to the first drop in the cave's elevation. Once inside, I was no longer surrounded by dirt, but instead found wet stone on every side. I was reminded of what Jason had said about the name of Duck Cave. That a duck, in caving, was a section of cave when the ceiling almost touched the water. I hoped I wouldn't have to swim through any water. I wasn't very good at holding my breath. I tried to keep choosing tunnels that sloped downward. From time to time, I would call out Summers or Jason's name. The only response I ever got was my own echo. After about an hour in the cave, I had to admit to myself that I was lost. I hadn't taken too many turns, not really. As I looked back the way I'd come, I knew that there was no way I'd find a path to the surface again without help. The stone was unending, undulating, every tunnel entrance and exit looking exactly the same. Well, that didn't take long. Even when rivulets of water ran down over the stone, it didn't create any sort of landmark. There were enough wet places in the cave that they soon blurred together in my mind. I stood still for a moment and considered how I'd ended up here. All at once, my helmet and lantern felt more like a caver's costume than real gear. What did I think I was doing? I'd have a mind to give up, to sit down where I was and wait for someone like Lara to come and rescue me. Surely it wouldn't take too long, as I hadn't gone far, and there were already search efforts looking for the other missing cavers. All I had to do was stay put, and in a few hours someone would find me. When I saw the light ahead of me, I thought for a moment that it was my lantern gleaming off the rocks. As I moved the lantern, the light didn't change. I felt my heart quicken in my chest. This had to be someone I could help. Yes, help. Here we are. I am here to help. Okay, how do we get out of here? I don't know. I hurried forward. Perhaps it'd be another caver. Perhaps there was even a gap to the outside world, another exit from the cave that would let me out into daylight. I hadn't gone too deep after all. Maybe Duck Cave opened onto another side of the mountain. When I hurried around the bend, my heart dropped into my stomach. Huh? The light was simply a flashlight, abandoned on the cave floor. I looked up to it slowly, as if it would disappear. It didn't. It was solid when I picked it up, and cold in my hand. The white light shone from it in an expanding cone, leaving a circle on the far cave wall. As it belonged to someone. Someone who had entered the cave recently enough that the flashlight's batteries hadn't yet died. Summers? Summer? I shouted. Only echoes came back to me. I decided to keep the flashlight in case my lantern ran out. Turned it off to preserve the battery and tucked it into one of my backpack pockets. Then I kept walking. There'd be no sitting down and waiting for rescue. There were people here. And if they weren't Summer or Jason, they could use my help. Besides, I felt restless. Whenever I stopped in my tracks, the silence, broken only by the dripping of water, closed in around me. Made me feel as though the entire ceiling could come down at any instant. Walking it was. And we're walking. As I continued onward throughout the cave, I began finding additional discarded objects. First was another flashlight, this one dead when I flipped the switch. I left it when I found it. Then it came a water bottle, followed by a GPS, its battery is also dead. I wondered how a GPS would have helped someone this deep in the cave system. This also kind of feels... Side note, this also kind of feels like a Mount Everest sort of parable. How easily people can get off the beaten path and die. And lose their stuff, leave their stuff behind, leave their bodies behind, perfectly preserved and whatnot. It feels like we're following that kind of trail here. I wonder how a GPS would have helped someone this deep in the cave system. Next, I found something that really perplexed me. A lantern. Not too unlike my own. Not far after that was a pair of shoes, the laces still tied. Huh. As I continued my journey, leaving these items behind me, I wondered what had compelled their owners to drop them. A dead flashlight I could understand. If there's no use for it anymore, maybe the owner didn't want to carry it. But shoes? Surely no one had brought an extra pair of shoes into the cave. If they had, why would they want to leave them behind? The abandoned items unsettled me. the feeling clung to my skin like a film, making my heartbeat jump every time I peered around the corner of a drop-in into a new tunnel. I didn't know what I was waiting to see, but I was afraid of it. Then I saw the boots. At first glance, thought they were a second pair of abandoned shoes. They lay on their heels beside a heap of loose rock, the soles shining wetly in the light of my flashlight. Walked up, wondered what could possibly make two people leave a pair of shoes behind. Then I realized that the boots I was looking at had not been left behind at all. Um, well then. Sticking out the tops of the boots were two pale ankles, just a sliver of skin visible before the legs were covered by green pants, then loose rock. It looked as though an entire ceiling of this section of the ceiling had collapsed. Perhaps the wearer of the boots had been reclining against the wall. Ah! Indeed. Perhaps they had been leaned in such a way that to dislodge a key stone. So sorry to step away. No worries, Tang. No worries. Hello. You are back just in time for the peak of the horror. We may have just discovered a body deep inside Duck Cave. Goodness gracious. Hope. We may have just discovered the body of our best friend, who's been missing for a few weeks. Yeah, if you missed my summary of the game, this is very this has been giving me Higurashi When They Cry vibes for the whole runtime in terms of design, writing style, tone, and even setting. It takes place in a picturesque vacation town with like a new attraction discovered, Duck Cave, which is drawing in tourists and caving enthusiasts. They're going into the cave, they're not coming out. And as time goes on, our protagonist, pictured here, his life just kind of gets slowly upturned by nightmares of being trapped in darkness in the cave. And now we've finally been drawn into Duck Cave, and time to see what's hiding in the depths of Duck Cave. I felt nauseous just looking at them. I found myself wishing that the green pants were longer, or the tops of the boots were taller, so they covered the pale slice of skin on each leg. I didn't want to understand that this was a person. This was a person. They were dead. I was standing in front of a dead body. I set my lantern down on the ground in front of me to see better. Its light illuminated the ground, showing that there were multiple sets of footprints in the dirt. I leaned closer, peering at the muddy stone, trying to keep my eyes away from the boots before me. For a moment I assumed that the footprints had been from before the cave-in. Then I realized that in the center of some of the footprints were loose pieces of rock that had clearly fallen at the same time as the stones that now covered this hapless caver's body. These rock pieces had been pressed into the mud by each footprint. People had walked past this body before me. They hadn't done anything. I could feel my breath beginning to quicken. Yeah, this definitely gives me Everest vibes. I wanted to sit down and try to calm myself, but I had the frightening feeling that if I sat down here, I might never give up again. Just like this person. Except, Duck Cave does not preserve dead bodies nearly as well as Mount Everest does. Instead, I picked up my lantern and forced myself to hold it closer to the pile of rock. I leaned in, and saw there was a dark jacket draped where the legs would have been, at the base of the pile. There's also a backpack resting against one side of the heap. Backpack's sides bulged. It was clearly almost full with packed supplies. Yellow duck keychain hanging from one zipper. My heart skipped a beat. Jason? I whispered. I held the lantern next to the boots again. I held my breath, too. There had to be something I could do to make this not be Jason. Maybe the boots weren't his, I didn't know. I hadn't paid enough attention to his footwear when he'd hung out in the past. The backpack. The keychain. I forced myself to take a deep breath. Tasted of dust and stale air. Jason is a good guy. He left his gear to help this person. Darker voice in my head countered, but they're clearly already dead. What good would leaving his backpack do? This couldn't be Jason. It couldn't. He had left his backpack to make them more visible. That search and rescue would be able to recover the body. Maybe he planned to come back for it. Backpack could be meant to mark the spot for his return, so that he could unearth the person's body for himself. Pile of rocks seemed pretty heavy. Tried not to think about how hard it would be to get the body out from underneath. Wanted to touch them. Wanted to haul rocks away from the pile until I saw a face emerge from underneath. A face that was undeniably not Jason's. My hands trembled as I held the lantern, making shadows shiver over the rocks. There was no way I could find out who this was. If I dug at the rocks, I risked caving the ceiling in on myself. Not to mention that if there were so many, I'd probably never be able to get to the body free. Oh God, I hear myself mutter aloud. Oh God. More than just my hands were shaking now. My whole body was. Now for the first time, I thought, what am I doing down here? Just a handful of hours ago, I had been safe in my bedroom. Now I couldn't even imagine the feeling of blankets tucked beneath my feet. I could hear the sound of dripping water from somewhere. All I could see was gray rock. And these two boots with their luminescent fractions of skin. If I turned back now, would I be able to find help? Would I be able to make sure this body was recovered? The thought didn't chase the chill from my bones. I thought I was lost before, I was surely lost now. I didn't even know if I'd be able to get myself recovered if I turned back. Besides, there might still be others deeper in who needed help. I looked again at the footprints ground into the mud on the stone floor. What could I possibly do for the person before me? All at once I felt a desperate urge to be away from here. I needed to go deeper into the cave. I would find Jason there, and I would know that he was alive and safe. I would be able to fix everything if only I went deeper into the cave. Uh-oh. There's that feeling again. I felt a strange heat suffuse my face as I turned away from the boots. I thought of glancing back at them as I trundled down the tunnel, ducking my head so that it didn't hit the ceiling. As I thought of it, I was possessed by a strange certainty. If I turned my head now, I'd see a body emerge from the rock fall, chucking up the stones that had crushed it to death. I think the cave's going to make a new friend today. Yeah! I would see pale eyes rolled up to the ceiling. The two boots would find footing on the stone, then this undead monstrosity would chase me deeper into the cave, where I would be killed. And in my mind, the monster had Jason's face. I shuddered and picked up my pace as I hurried away from the sight of the death. Not let myself look back. We gotta go deeper. Everything will be fine if we go deeper. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Nothing strange to see here. For a while, I walked quickly through the featureless gray tunnels, sometimes dropping to my knees to scramble through a spot where the ceiling dipped. My thoughts were flurried, scattering away from me each time I tried to grasp one. I was aware only of my sense of fear and the basic needs. My body, the growing ache in my calves, the chill that seeped through my jacket and shirt. Once I stopped to eat a protein bar and drink a little water. Then I kept going. Something spurring me onward that I couldn't quite control. Didn't know if it was the urge to get away from the body behind me, or to continue toward where Jason and Summer might be. I tried not to connect with it. Tried not to connect it with what Sharma had told me about entering the cave. It didn't matter. Either way, my feet kept moving. Continued to pass items that other cavers must have dropped. Didn't let myself look closely at any of them. Didn't know how long I had traveled in my fugue state. Could have been minutes or hours. All I knew was what pulled me from it. Sound of voices. Bro is braver and reckless than me. Because I would have been like, well, these people are fucked. Did the best I could. I'm out of here. Bye. The trouble is, he's already lost. He's already lost. His only hope is to just stop. Try and turn back. Stem the tide before he gets deeper, but he's already long past that. He's long gone. I was on hands and knees when I heard them. The sounds were faint, but it was decidedly someone talking. I felt my heart spike. As I crawled faster through the section of tunnel, it thankfully widened for too long, so that I could climb to my feet. Boots sloshed through shallow water as I hurried toward the voices. I noticed that my pant legs and the wrists of my shirt and jacket were already wet. When did I enter this water, I wondered. I couldn't be sure. Didn't have time to contemplate it. I picked up my pace until I was nearly jogging through the tunnels. I wanted to hurry, but I couldn't go faster without risking a fall. I still had to skid to a halt, however, as I entered a fork in the tunnel. Or, not a fork, really. The passage I'd been following ended in a small semicircular space. In the floor were two holes leading downward at a much steeper incline than I'd followed thus far. Oh, this is a terrible idea. They were nearly vertical, in fact. I'd caught myself before toppling straight into the first one. I hesitated. Which way are the voices coming from? Listened at the mouth of each vertical tunnel. The sounds were so faint and far away, caves so echoey that it was impossible to determine their source. I would just have to pick her out and follow it. We were jumping down the frickin' nose of this cave. The tunnels were so steep. If I chose wrong, I might not be able to come out again on my own. I cupped my hands around my mouth and shouted down the first hole. Is anyone down there? Hello? I heard my own voice echoing back at me. Then I realized that the voice was the only thing I could hear. With the sound, it had gone abruptly silent. I tried again, moving to the second hole, giving the first one a careful berth in case there were any loose rock at the edges. Take a deep breath. Hello? Jason! Summer! Still nothing. If anyone needs help down there, please answer. Just my own words were reflected back at me in places. A broken echo of my voice reminded me of the sounds I'd heard on the radio in my nightmare, and I shuddered. Maybe something had happened to whoever was down there. Maybe they were weak and had passed out. I was just gonna have to try my luck. It didn't matter which tunnel I went down, so I played eeny meeny miny mo with myself and ended up choosing the second one. I felt really delirious for a moment as I remembered the words. It had been the first time such a silly kid's game was used for such a serious decision. The second tunnel looked not only steep, but narrow. Debated for a moment whether to go in feet first or head first. Knew that according to Jason, some narrow tunnels required crawling in head first, in order for the caver to wriggle their way through. However, the idea of shoving my shoulders in a crack in the ground, not knowing if it would open on the other side, made my skin crawl. Yeah, this is the point where yeah. Not to mention I'd had a nightmare about that too. No, it would be better to lower myself down using my feet. That way, if the passage became too narrow, I'd have a chance of getting out again. Once more, the image of the comfortable bed that I'd left only hours before flashed through my mind. I was truly out of my depth, but I had no other choice. I took a deep breath, straightened my helmet on my head, tied my electric lantern to my backpack, and began to lower myself down into the hole. At first, it seemed like this would be an easier descent than I'd thought. Then, after a few more feet, the passageway began to narrow. I felt my breath quicken and become shallow. Rocks were wet against my cramped hands. Water running in rivulets over my soaked boots. Then my backpack snagged. I went to lower myself down another step. I couldn't move. The moment I went, held very still as alarms went off in my head. My heart began to beat wildly. This was just like my dream. I was stuck. I forced myself to take a deep breath and try to lever myself back up a few steps into a part of the tunnel that gave me more space to maneuver. Thankfully, after a few minutes of painstaking wriggling, I managed it. It took a moment to sit still, gulping air. I wanted to cry. Well, that was horrible, I thought. Jason, how could you possibly do this for fun? Good question. Time to flip some coins like we're playing Fear and Hunger, yep. Now that I had the space to regroup, I thought to pull my lantern from my pack and lower it ahead of me to get a closer look at what I was dealing with. I worried that I would see the passage tighten to a dead end and have to attempt to climb back out. My arm was already aching. I wasn't sure if I could manage it. Instead, oh, however, the side of the tunnel ahead gave me great relief. Below me, though the passage narrowed, it ended in a hole that would drop me into a much larger space. The drop wasn't too far, maybe 5 feet or so. I would definitely have enough room to stand. Thankfully, he chose right this time, yeah. Yeah, speaking of fear and hunger, I feel like we're going to enter this is going to end up with a dungeon level 10. We went too deep and we're not getting out sort of thing. So if I could make it through this last squeezing section, I would be safe once more. Took a few more deep breaths and drank some water. It occurred to me that if I was going to wriggle through, I wouldn't be able to bring my pack with me. And then I would have to go head first after all. Bit the inside of my cheek and looked down at the narrow tunnel. If I pushed my pack ahead of me, I could keep it. But mind, terrifying images of my backpack getting snagged again and blocking the way. Then I would be out of luck. If I went into this tunnel head first, I didn't have a lot of confidence that I'd be able to back out a second time. No, I'd have to leave the pack behind, eat another protein bar, and drink the last of my water now. Then it would just be me and my lantern against whatever lay ahead. Maybe this was why Jason left his bag. Thought as I chewed on a cookie dough-flavored bar. He's a better caver than me. Must have realized early on that it would be a hindrance. That thought brought me too close to the image of legs sticking out under a heap of stone, so I forced myself not to think about Jason as I carefully tucked my backpack into a corner of the tunnel and drank as much water as I could handle. Then, after some more maneuvering, I managed to turn around in the closed space, so that my head was slightly below my feet, staring directly down the tunnel. It was wide enough that I could push my lantern ahead of me without worrying. I took care to keep my arms outstretched, shoving the lantern each time it came within reach of my fingertips. At first, the tunnel was wide enough for me to stay on my hands and knees. Then I had to drop to my stomach and do an army crawl. The feeling brought back memories of gym class. Teacher with a whistle shouting my name. Come on, Max, pick up the pace. What would Miss Gilcox think if she could see me now? I wondered with just a hint of giddiness. Then I forced myself to keep moving, before my muscles could become too stiff for my uncomfortable position. Finally, just before the hole that would release me from this tunnel, the stone wall seemed to close around me in a vise, and I was reduced to wriggling. I could feel myself starting to panic again. This was just like my nightmare after all. I tried to convince myself that the ceiling wasn't about to crush me, but it was a difficult argument to make. I could feel every knob and bump of stone grinding into my spine. I pushed my lantern ahead of me once more. It fell into the hole. Ah! I heard a clatter on the stone below. It was dark in my tunnel. Oh dear. I took deep breaths, feeling the stone against my back, stomach, and shoulders. No, it wasn't completely dark. As my eyes adjusted, I realized that the light of my lantern still reached me, even though it was partially blocked by rock. I see the other wall with the space I was about to enter as the light shone off the moisture there. I gritted my teeth, determined, and forced myself to continue patting my feet and shimmying my torso until my arms hung out over the gap. Then my chest, and finally my waist, would bend in half, reaching with the wall below me to help propel my bottom half out of the pinched tunnel into the open space. Whew! I landed hard, but the pain in my banged knees was nothing compared to the relief that washed over me. I had done it. I looked back up at the tunnel I had come from. It seemed impossibly small now. I couldn't even see my backpack anymore. It was hidden beyond the twists and turns of the rock. I took a deep breath to sigh in relief. I noticed that the air was noticeably wetter here. It seemed to cling to me. Maybe that was just sweat. Hydration break. The point where I could hear my voice start to give a little bit. Either way, this new tunnel was definitely also warmer. I grabbed my lantern off the ground and held it up. It seemed to illuminate a smaller circle of light than before. Maybe I damaged it when I dropped it, I thought. Shiver. Without my lantern, I would be helpless down here, completely lost in the dark. When I expected the lantern itself, it seemed to shine as brightly as ever, leaving after images on the insides of my eyelids. Still, holding it before me, it banished less of the darkness. It had something to do with the water in the air. I tried to ignore the uncomfortable feeling that the darkness itself seemed thicker, more tangible. There had been voices down here. I needed to follow them. Once my legs stopped shaking with the adrenaline of my close passage, I continued my trek. Sorry if you heard that, my chair's a bit creaky. Fortunately, this tunnel had no more branches. It continued at a slow downward slope, much like many of the passages I had followed so far. However, it was narrower than the others had been. I had to crawl on my stomach twice more, each time thinking of the boots buried in a tomb of rock. Nothing came as close as my earlier struggle. Eventually, I had merged into a larger cavern. First, I thought it was a momentary reprieve with the close cave walls. Oh! As I continued to walk forward, however, I found that the cavern simply continued to expand until my lantern couldn't illuminate the ceiling anymore. I walked slowly and carefully, remembering my earlier near fall. It was a good thing I did, because after a dozen paces I found myself at the edge of a large, roughly circular hole in the cavern floor. I held my lantern out over it. This time I could see no crags, no narrowing of the passage. I certainly couldn't see the bottom. It was as if the hole widened into a huge space before me. Imagine the floor I stood on being a thin veneer over another, huger cave. I shuddered. Hello? I called again, my voice sounding tiny in the massive space. No response. And then something touched my shoulder. I shrieked, my greeting turning into a wordless cry as I dropped my lantern and spun around, teetering dangerously close to the edge of the hole. In the flash of light, I saw no one. The cavern's fall rolled behind me. Then my lantern vanished into the hole, and it was dark. Oh! Oh dear. I took ragged, deep breaths. My heartbeat sounded as loud as gunshots in my ears. I took a single careful step forward to avoid falling into the hole behind me. Then I realized if I walked too far away, I would lose my only landmark in this huge space. My body kept twitching. I expected a hand to grab me at any moment, maybe to push me into the hole behind me. I turned my head wildly, looking in all directions, even though I couldn't see a thing. But nothing happened. Finally, as my breathing had slowed a little, I crept back to the edge of the hole, peered down into it. I could feel hot air touch my face. Fuck! I whispered aloud. I could hear the slow dripping of water. Beyond that, in my own breaths, there was nothing. Pure, deep silence. I'm not gonna find anyone. Where'd those voices go? How am I gonna get out? When I drew back from the edge of the hole again, I was startled once more to see lights above me. I wasn't fooled for a moment. These glimmers weren't from my lantern. In fact, they weren't man-made at all. They were tiny specks scattered over what must have been the cavern's ceiling. Each one had a faintly bluish tint. From time to time they seemed to fade from my vision, waiting for new ones to appear a few feet away. They must have been just at the edge of my eye's ability to see. I wonder what they were. Crystals? Bioluminescence? They looked like stars. Title drop. Title drop. We can go home now. We we we've got the title drop. We can go home now before anything worse happens. We've done it. We've done it, gang. Got the title drop. I contented myself with watching them shine. After all, there was nothing else for me to do now. I had finally come to the end of my journey. After a few minutes, I started to wonder what I would say to Summer if she was here now. Hey, Summer, I came down to save you. I think you can tell that it didn't go very well. I imagined her giving me a wry smile, bags under her eyes less pronounced than they had been the last time we met. Why'd you come? Thought you were scared of caves. I almost laughed. My imaginary Summer had a point. I had no business being here. I don't know, I answered her silently. But I think on some level, you were right. What do you mean? There's a kind of peace here somehow, beneath everything. A stillness. I hadn't realized it until I thought it, but as soon as I did, something seemed to slot into place. My worries didn't matter here. Not my real-world ones, anyway. It didn't matter that soon I would have nowhere to live. It didn't matter that I hadn't done anything with my life. It didn't even matter that my friends were missing. After all, they were down here somewhere, too. More time passed. I was past counting the minutes by now. For all I knew, I could have been in this cave for days, weeks even. The only thing that assured me, the only thing assuring me that I hadn't was the fact that I wasn't hungry. My legs were tired from all the walking and scrambling, so I sat down at the edge of the hole. On a whim, I dangled my legs over the edge. I didn't sit close enough for it to be dangerous. I didn't want to fall in or anything, but there was simply nothing else for me to do. I noticed that there was a faint flow of air coming from the hole. It was almost hot against the backs of my calves. Perhaps this was the source of the warmer temperature down here. The wind made me once again certain that there was an even larger space below me. After all, hadn't my lantern disappeared into that gloom? Time to time I tilted my head back to look at my stars. as I had started thinking of them. They weren't bright enough to give my eyes any real respite from the endless darkness. So before too long, I started hallucinating little flashes of color. Yellow spark, like a light bulb turning on. Tiny red circle in the center of my vision. Sensation of blue in the corner of my eye. At first, the colors surprised and frightened me. Eventually, I grew used to them. I began to think of them as just more companions in the darkness. In fact, I felt like I had many friends here. The stars, the colors, even the hot wind rising from beneath me. All of them were here to distract me from the darkness that went on forever. Even without Summer and Jason, I was not alone here. Far from it. I imagined that all my friends were manifestations of a greater presence that was making itself known to me in stages. Gradually rising from the bottom of the abyss that my legs dangled over. As soon as I thought it became true to me. I could actually feel the presence, some huge awareness that was climbing slowly up to meet me. It should have been frightening, but it wasn't. The same part of my mind that had imagined the presence knew that it would eventually rise out of the hole and expand to fill the cavern that I was in. Then I would be in direct contact with it, and I would be able to communicate with it. Didn't know what would happen to me after that. Didn't seem to matter. What was important was the act of connection. Hadn't I been worried about being left alone? Alone in Hilltop, alone in my dead-end job, alone when Jason disappeared, and alone when Summer followed. Alone. 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 I wouldn't have to worry about that anymore. I believe these are normal thoughts to have when in a cave. And that is why it is inadvisable to be in a cave. I realized that I could hear the noises again. Little gasps of voices coming in rhythmic bursts. See, you're not alone! Friend! This is where we get the reveal. They reminded me of the Morse code that I had failed to transcribe in my dream. This time, I wasn't worried about writing them down. I felt that just by listening I was on the verge of understanding. I stood at the edge of knowledge, of revelation. I laid back and stared up at the stars overhead. My legs still dangled over the empty space. They were warm from the hot air that rushed up at them. The rock was no longer cold and wet. I'd been sitting, and it became soft and warm and welcoming, almost as though it was perfectly molded to my back. And noises continued. I thought of the radio call I'd taken from the roof of my house, which seemed like a lifetime ago. Whom had I spoken to then? Something lonely at the bottom of the cave. The voices I was hearing now sounded like a radio static, like a half-tuned set that listened to a dozen bands at once. I closed my eyes against the stars at last. I wanted to listen to the sounds better. Why'd I describe them as gasps? That implied fear, desperation. They weren't afraid. Well, the words weren't quite clear to me yet. The voices growing louder were thick with perfectly clear emotion. They were happy. I smiled. Official memorandum. Speaker. Blank from blank blank facility. Classified. Do not share the contents of this file. Begin transcript. My name is blank blank. This is an official report on behalf of the blank blank blank. Serving the study of radio spectrum anomalies north of Hilltop blank. The following notes were gathered via thorough investigation by myself using interview blank and other standard operating techniques. This report is my final compilation of everything I believe is relevant to the blank. First, some background. This field research was prompted by a number of disappearances in a cave system known to the locals as Duck Cave, otherwise referenced here as a blank blank, also known as blank blank blank, before it was categorized. Manner and timing of these disappearances led to a suspicion that they could be related to other current studies, which are being performed by the blank, on the topic of telepathic communications. Upon arriving in town, I immediately began surveying the residents of and visitors to Hilltop for signs of being telepathically affected. A number of cases and detailed them in the file, which will accompany this verbal report marked blank blank, subjects and case study. As a high-level overview, I will summarize the findings of that report here. Investigation found that symptoms of telepathic exposure vary by individual, that a correlation between proximity to blank blank and severity of symptoms can be drawn. Some of the more common symptoms include fatigue, insomnia, nightmares, enhanced physiologic tremor, a false sense of security, in some cases complete psychosis and divorce from reality. Manifestation of blank was also reported. These reports are as of yet unconfirmed. I would like to draw special attention to the most common and also the most dangerous symptom of all, which was exhibited by nearly every single subject that I examined: compulsion, superseding all rational thought to enter blank blank. As proximity to the blank was found to proliferate telepathic exposure, the symptom therefore led directly to the manifestation of further symptoms in all but a few cases. Thus, it is clear that the telepathic field of blank blank can be categorized as blank at a level blank rating. From my interviews with the subjects in this study, I found that all mentioned a feeling of being communicated with, to quote directly from a conversation with blank blank, the day before she vanished into blank blank. Summer? I suggest that this feeling may point to the existence of an entity within blank blank, which retains the ability to transmit ideas and information to others. Like, we have literally communicated with them over the radio. That had to have been what we were communicating with over the radio. I have attempted several cross-sections of I nearly said demonic, of the demographic data in search of a connecting factor between victims, but have yet to reach a conclusion. I theorize here that the telepathic sensitivity and feelings of loneliness may be compounding factors, but neither appears to be the root cause. Further research is needed in this case. Meantime, I propose that blank blank be immediately closed to the public, level blank precautions against entry taken. As search and rescue personnel can no longer be allowed into blank blank without thorough psychic vetting, and as we cannot be certain of their safety even after such tests, due to the unknown nature of the cave selection process, any citizen or blank member who manages to enter blank blank on their own should be considered lost. Rescue should not be attempted. Doomed. And this concludes my report on radio spectrum anomalies and blank blank. Blank blank blank, signing off. Blank. 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 Ding. 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 That's Morse code. SOS. And transcript. Oh. Oh. Hot diggity. So what'd you think of our hardcore cape adventure? Also, that was intense. Yeah, very much. Hot diggity. I enjoyed that quite a lot. Fire up the itch page here. Go. Also, let me point out, I did a quick translation on this Morse code. It says "Welcome home." So yeah, welcome home. This was summer. I don't think you saw summer. Summer's tired. It's is it Sharma, agent. There's our friend Jason who died horribly. I love caves. Yeah, me too. Me too. Me too. So, first things foremost, if you enjoyed that in any sort of way, please, here's the link to the game itself. Give a rating. Drop in, give it a rating, and a kind word if you can spare it. As I always do in these streams, we will give this a rating, of course, 5 stars. But that was legitimately. Oh. And yes, I have to mention I don't want to say that directly, but yes. Oops. Itch app, why are you doing this? Come on now. Uh, yes, because realistically, just those three screenshots gave me Higurashi vibe. That's the whole reason I started this to begin with. Game presentation gave his Higurashi vibes, and hell, even the way this whole game narratively was structured was like a Higurashi chapter almost. Starting off with the ordinary daily life, slowly introducing elements, uh, that uneasy elements to upturn and unseat the daily life. Slowly introducing the supernatural elements. Normal daily life gets upturned. We go past the point of no return. Things spiral downwards to an inevitable end, and we even get a little follow-up report at the end. This really was a Higurashi chapter, and I love it for that. That's like, if whether this was inspired by Higurashi directly or not, it still nailed that tone of horror. Gotta give you props for that. So I'm definitely giving you a follow. And heck, I think it will be right up your alley. If you look at this and you think Higurashi, this will be right up your alley for sure. Oh god, yeah. 3 minutes in about 4 hours, yeah. I'm definitely not reading for all 4 hours because I did bad faith in one stream and that was like 5 hours, and that burned my voice by the end of it. Yes. So that's my final thought here. If it's giving you Higurashi vibes, you definitely need to check this out. Did bad faith in a single stream? I did! I did. Is that stream still saved in my Twitch library? I need to know. Producer, did that stream get yoinked yet? It did. It was 5 hours and 27 minutes. 5 hours and 27 minutes. One sitting. It's expiring in, it is also expiring in 0 days. Fitting. I regretted my life choices, but it was worth it. Bad faith, also, also immaculate horror of a much different sort. But yes, but diggity. First time making no? So, oh, group team. Pointy shades, shark and fishnets. Let's check out the collaborator. Where's the collaborator section? Yeah. Pointy shades narrative. Oh, Harry Dubois fan game? Since I've got you here, Freya. Hello. Let's see. AmeKinoko? I'm very intrigued there. Can look buff as hell indeed. Shark and fishnets. Deadly demise. Scary skulls attacking me. Oh god, oh no. This is the second time I've seen this. Yeah, this is the second time I've seen this. And this entry in this stream. Interesting. Okay, so we're gonna hit the 4-hour mark, but we're gonna call it for the night. So yeah, we've got inside the box. We've met Frederick, lovely cinnamon roll, and had a really wholesome time with love. Hi, Void Stranger. There's a few more small games here. I have Dead Bomb here. We're gonna try Dead Bomb here at some point. Think, yeah, it's Dead Bomb here is only an hour. So we're definitely gonna play that at some point here. I want to play Monochrome Pixel because that just looks really good, really polished here. Under Fall Sky also looks really good. I'm not sure how long it is. Oh, it's 26,000 in full release. But we did, yeah, it looks be straight through too. This might be a Thursday. This might be a Thursday thing. I might pencil in Fall Sky, Dead Bomb Hair, and Galaxy Ballerina for Thursday. I'll make that call now. And while I have Twitch open, let's look for someone to raid into.